Hey everybody, welcome to Squatch Talk. I'm Pat, and let's get started. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm going to bring the panel in just a few minutes. So yeah, by the title of the thumbnail, you see, Bigfoot pictures. Let's talk about that. I usually don't call things out like this. It's not my style. It's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a debunker. Not that I'm doing that here right now. But this kind of touched me because it creeps into my professional skill set, and there's a lot of red flags, and I think it's worth addressing. So I'm gonna address it before we bring the panel in and do a broader discussion. And I really don't want to. I don't want to spend the night focused on this. Hopefully, we'll just have our kind of usual free for all Friday night free for all discussions, if you will. So there was a video put out a few days ago, and I mean I have to address who it is. It's L.A. Swamp Ape, so Louisiana Swamp Ape on YouTube. L.A. with a minor A, Swamp Ape. With these kind of extraordinary claims of best Bigfoot pictures ever taken, and I got some red flags off that. I did. It came across my desk, and I looked at it objectively and hopefully, like, okay, what's going on here, because there's claims of technology being involved, aerial technology, perhaps thermal technology, and my sort of where it falls into my professional skill set is the aerial part and somewhat of the thermal. Definitely those two things combined is something that I've been, I have experience in aerial, and I've been studying the marriage of those two technologies for years. In fact, I came up with that idea 20 years ago. Before this, it involved helicopters back then, So yeah. So some of you might be subscribers to his channel, and so let me throw out some disclaimers real quick before I get into it. Number one, I'm not bashing anybody. I just have questions. Okay, because there were some red flags and some things seemed a little sus. So I'm not bashing, I'm not attacking. I'm coming at this with what I think are fair questions that need to be asked, because some of it doesn't make sense. So I'm not bashing Carl, and Carl is welcome here anytime he wants to clarify anything that maybe I'm misunderstanding, or to answer questions that need to be answered, that I feel need to be answered. So Carl's welcome here to have a civil, open discussion about those things. And number two, also real quick, Daniela did appear with him on this show, and I'm not trying to drag her into the sort of questioning part of it, because Danielle is just doing what Daniela does. She talks to people. It felt like he kind of wanted there to have somebody to bounce off of live, and that's understandable. And Danielle is always willing to be, to fill that role, because she does a lot of that on Researchers Report and her own show, and I have a relationship with her. I know Daniela, and I've been on her show and hosted, Bigfoot Odyssey and all that stuff. So the fact that Daniela was a part of that discussion, she didn't bring this stuff to the forefront. So I just wanted those two disclaimers. That Carl, you're welcome on my show to correct me if I'm wrong, or answer questions in more detail, or even persuade me better. Because I will tell you up front, I'm not very persuaded by what I see. So the claim is this: is that you know he he went on air saying that he's the best pictures ever of Bigfoot, but they had to be dumbed down because of the technology involved. And that right there, in and of itself, makes absolutely no sense. Um, I don't understand that. Um, Again, I have knowledge of aerial platforms and even thermal to some degree. And it seemed to be that these were pictures. It's always framed as pictures taken from far away with some thermal technology. Now, I'll show you one here in a second. And so right off the bat, it makes no sense. That doesn't add up in my world of what I understand about aerial stuff. That's an aeronautical chart sitting behind me. It's kind of a red flag. I got a barking chihuahua. Anyway, so the discussion kind of progresses on to somebody laid these into his lap and sent them to him, but yet, and he says this on air, he says, I sent them back. Well, in 2021, in the digital age, I don't understand what that means either. I know something about the 70s and 80s that if somebody sends you Polaroids, you can send them back. But in 2021, if somebody provides you with a crystal clear picture, by the way, I forgot this part. So these are dumbed down pictures that he's showing live on air, but he said that he had seen the crystal clear ones. And the whole story behind that is that, again, the crystal clear pictures can't be revealed because somehow that will reveal the technology being used. Again, I don't understand that. I have knowledge of all these things, but I don't understand that. And so if somebody sends you a crystal clear picture, how do you send it back? I don't get that. It doesn't make any sense. If they send it to you, that means you download it onto your computer or phone, perhaps, and that's where it lives. So you don't really send that back. You either delete it or you don't. That's really the only two options. Like, as soon as you download it, you have it, and you don't send it back. You just delete it or you don't. So that kind of wording, again, red flag. Yeah, sure. I download it. I guess you could, Brent. Guess you could download it onto a SD card, but it's, I don't know. Doesn't a copy of it still live on your computer? Even if you do that, if you drag it over to the SD card or the flash drive, pretty sure that you still have a copy of it until you put it in the trash bin. I don't know. I'm not a high tech guy, but I'm a tech guy. So that was a red flag, and I don't know. Let me just bring up where is it? Where did I put it? I always have this problem here. Where did I put it? It's down here somewhere. Oh, I don't know where it's on. Give me a second, guys. Screen recording? No, yeah, it must be that. Yeah, there it is. It's not that one. So here you go. So finally he gets it. He gets to the meat and potatoes and shows some imagery, and but again, this is dumbed down imagery of what he claims was crystal clear pictures that he saw, and he also said, I'm not going to do the thing where you have to look for the eyes. I have to show you where the eyes and the mouth are. But he turned around and did exactly that with this imagery. So contradicted himself. Another red flag. And let's see. I'm just gonna share the screen real quick. Yeah, this. Here we go. So here it is. Oops, I pulled it out of view. My bad. So there it is. Like, I mean, this is, let me get rid of this if I can. I don't know that I can. I mean, this is supposed to be a Bigfoot, the head, and it's pregnant, and the belly's, glowing green. Even though there's some green thermals going on over here and here, if you can see that. This is like cold hot or something. Like, I don't know, I'm not familiar with that. So I mean, this is supposed to be the best pictures of Bigfoot, that we can get, but yet it's dumbed down. Again, why? Why is it dumbed down? I mean, I think there's good answers to that question. Well, why would you dumb it down? There's some good answers, but he never gives them. And also this, all of these images happen close, near his home. And he makes the implication that the military is involved. And I'm not sure why the military would use resources to come to him about near his home. I just think these are fair questions. Again, I'm not saying, this isn't like somebody in chat just saying, hold on, like, oh, this is BS. It's just, I have questions. That's all. So I don't know. You be the judge. You can go to his channel. It's LA Swamp Ape on YouTube, and you can watch that video and see for yourself. And again, to be fair to Carl, I would love to have you on the show and kind of have this discussion with you, ask these questions, because at this point it's a little sus. And I'm not accusing you of anything, Carl. Somebody might be taking you for a ride, or it could be the other way around. Both those things are possible. I'm not making accusations. All I know is that there's too many red flags with this story and this imagery that these questions should be asked, because it's a big claim. So I think it's fair to ask these questions. And with that, I will I'll step off my freaking soapbox and bring in some people who are much more interesting than me.
Oh.
Hello, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you, Brent and Patrick.
I'm here.
All right, we're good. We are live. What's up, guys? How you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
I'm still on this side of the grass.
That's a good day.
Hold on.
So how are you? How's everybody doing tonight? I've been watching the chat. A lot of people chatting in there. Miss Brandy and Sandra Piper and all them. Very interesting.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I gave you two fair warning that I was gonna kind of go there tonight. I'm not the call out guy, and I never will be. But this one kind of touched me in a different way because of, again, the professional skill sets I have.
Well, I completely understand, and I'm not sure if everybody, if how many people are aware that a special critical thinking group was put together last year of people that have such skill sets, and that we literally boil down everything we have. And I've had you ask me on camera on your show, "Are you lying to me, Patrick?"
Yeah,
Okay,
I do.
we're critical. We're critical of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're critical of each other, and not in a bashing way, but are you certain? And the things we are not certain on, it's a hypothesis, and we try to develop ways of proving or disproving the theory that's driven from that, and really try to up our game to get the ball downfield further in the Bigfoot community instead of sitting here for another 50 years trying, doing the same thing.
Right.
And now, that said, I had I watched a guy on his show tell me that I was a bad person because I'm a Bigfoot researcher investigator, because researchers suck. Well, you know what? I had to start off at ground zero for myself, because no one could have told me anything about the subject of Bigfoot and have me believe it. I had to start off myself and build up from ground up. So, that said, I'm not going to sit here and be critical like that person was, but we definitely have to have a healthy dose of reality and skepticism when we start looking at the best Bigfoot pictures, claim.
Yeah.
And while I'll never attack a person ever, not a person, but I definitely think the information can be pulled out and ciphered through and looked at and questioned, certainly.
Yes, and I'm not attacking Carl. I think I made that clear in my opening statement.
You did.
This is not an attack. These are fair questions. I call balls and strikes like I see them. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Which again, that's why, like, you're welcome to come here and discuss that with me. That's what I would do if I had something to offer visually, and people started criticizing it. I mean, I'd be dialing them up, going, "Hey, I want to come on your show and talk to you."
Well, I took a picture of a Bigfoot years ago. I took a picture of one, snapped a picture of him. I saw him. It took off running. I snapped a picture of it, and at a distance in my own iPhone camera, you could see it. One arm up, one arm back. It's running. But when you zoom in on it, it's a blob squatch. Okay? And I don't do blob squatches, not even my own. If it's not Nat Geo quality picture, is unacceptable and inconclusive, period. That is the standard set. Okay, National Geographic, Discovery Channel, all these, if you want to see a picture of Coco, God rest her soul, she's dead now, but Coco the gorilla, you can look at her. If you can get a picture that clear of a Sasquatch of like her, then it's conclusive. Anything else is not conclusive. And I have people send me pictures all the time, and I'm like, yeah, I see something, but I struggle with this too. It is inconclusive unless I can see it. You're looking at it like you're looking at me. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So
I agree. What do you think, Brent? Before I'm going to bring something up here in a second that I want to address, but go ahead, Brent.
No, I definitely agree with what you've been saying, and it's fair to ask the questions, and I'm kind of at the point where I'm almost jaded in a way where it's like you can almost I just go, it would be great if he could come on and talk to him or talk about it and really kind of explain the story behind it, and the history of the actual pictures that he's presenting, and the kind of the people, technology involved, and it's I don't know, it just seems fairly cloak and dagger to me, where I'm not really expecting that, and it's just kind of what it is. Someone making a claim about pictures that we can't even vet out, and we can't even verify what's even on the pictures. You know, the good type of evidence is the one you don't have to explain to people. You don't have to draw the red circles around.
Yeah.
It's just the evidence that everybody sees. And everybody talks about, hey, we need to get scientists involved to get them to prove it. No, we don't. We just need evidence that proves itself, you know, that will show the people, that doesn't need explanation. That's the type of evidence that we need. We don't need scientists or anything like that. We can do it ourselves. We just need to get something that's worth quality. And it's unfortunate that he talks about getting that crystal clear quality picture, you know, like you would go to Sears and get a family portrait type of thing, that crystal clear. And it's like, it would solve the mystery right here. And his story behind why he doesn't want to release them or can't release them is kind of like fantastical.
So you got to explain that to me. So someone had a crystal clear picture of a Bigfoot. Yeah, I watched part of this, but then, hell, I work a lot. I think I fell asleep. But and I did see some of the photos, and I couldn't make out anything on the photos. But then I fell asleep. I didn't hear the part where he had crystal clear images of this.
Yes.
Yeah, and he had to send him back because of he has integrity, which I get, but you couldn't when he was trying to.
How do you send them back? You don't.
Yeah.
This is digital age, baby.
You don't send them back. I mean, whenever I download something that somebody sends me, I mean, it's there, and even if I send it, if I take that and send it right back to them, it's still on my computer. So you have to flush it at that point. You'd have to.
Yeah, I learned that very, very painful lesson with an ex-girlfriend in pictures I sent.
It's a way different kind of show, Patrick.
I'm just saying, I mean, it's not a hard copy of no pun intended. No pun intended. But it's not like you have a. Anyway, I'm gonna quit. Y'all keep talking. I'm turning red.
Patrick, you're being inappropriate. Let me address this real quick because my mind's going a million miles an hour, so I want to slow it down a little bit. So this was asked or stated. He explained that the people who acquired the photos were risking a lot. They were dumbed down to protect the technology used to capture the photos. And thanks for asking or making that statement, Brandy. And I'm willing. More than willing to have that conversation with you and the audience right now, is that makes absolutely no sense to me. We have, and here's another thing he kept saying, is that you can't buy this technology. Well, if it's being used, somebody bought it, right? But he's kind of saying, you guys in the Bigfoot world we don't have access to this. And that's just not accurate. We have access to extremely advanced technology that would blow your freaking mind. It ranges from, $10,000 to $250,000. You can have a $200,000 drone shipped to you from another freaking country that makes them a military grade, To some degree. I say military grade. I'm not talking about Predator drones, nothing, explosive. That doesn't make any sense. And there's nothing within that frame that should ever reveal this great technology that we're not even seeing. We're not even seeing any kind of advanced technology whatsoever in these dumbed down pictures. So you could crop the picture, make it clear, whatever telemetry and crap that's on the side, which does happen with drones. You could crop that out. So it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not. I don't think that's an accurate statement on his part.
Well,
here comes Leon.
Woohoo, Leon!
Hey,
buddy.
Hey. I just. Good. I'm glad you're late because I was late. But I've been following you. I watched a little bit just before I got on, so I knew what you guys were talking about. So
cool.
Continue.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I lost my train of thought. Cheese Freak kind of screwed me up. Oh,
No,
um,
I think it was Leon.
okay. I think the first, it might have been, I was having flashbacks. But, okay. First image I looked at, and I know a little bit about IR and IR washout. When you have your, because we had a super powerful ghost light, ghost IR. And if you got in trees within about 10 feet of you, the IR literally washed the video out of IR. Okay. It was terrible. It's almost like an overexposed picture. And the first picture that I saw on that video was an overexposed, washed out IR image is what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have to be close. You have to be close to be able to wash it out with IR. Now, this is supposed to be a 1,500 foot away, image, but the technology of it and just the way it washes out demands it has to be within about 10 to 20 feet. And so you're supposed to have something that's huge that looks this big, completely washed out in IR, at 10 to 20 feet. The scale doesn't work for me. I deal with scale all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And the scale just didn't work out. And I had questions about that. And I'm not accusing anything. I'm just saying I definitely have questions about it.
All right. Somebody else? Sorry, I'm.
No, it's okay. I was actually thinking about a question, not a question, but a comment about the whole thing. I don't know. I went through the video. I watched it as well. And again, we have to make sure we're saying this. The idea, and I'm glad, Patrick, you brought this up as well, is we come after ourselves. We release the dogs on ourselves. So that's not what we're not here. We're trying to find out what is clear and what isn't clear. And Brent, when you're talking about, it's like Thomas says, if you have to explain it, it's not good enough evidence. You might have even seen a Sasquatch. And then Patrick, like you said, I seen one, but it's a blob squatch. And I think that's some of the frustrating stuff that's out there. I just posted Justin just posted from Mountain Beast Mysteries, that whole thing of the Independence Day thing after I had posted, want to do videos of all the videos that are garbage videos so people can go through them in a very short time and say, oh, these are all garbage. So they don't get stuck in what Brent and I got stuck into and having to find out later, thinking we found something really great, stick it out in front of people who know the information from 10 years ago, which we didn't, and then come back with this kind of slamming tone in their thing. Well, it's a hoax or whatever. How about we know that? We don't know that, right? So when I was watching the interview too, I was wondering, so what was the backstory behind who he got this from? Like, was it some kind of I got a special friend that's in the United States military, Secret Service /
I never heard one. It was just they.
Okay. And
from my understanding, he was contacted by some, unknown people to find out where Sasquatch was, and he happened to know and gave him the coordinates, which apparently is like 300 yards from his house, which is it looks like a rural neighborhood, like a lot of houses out there, but still some space between them. I guess that's where they got some evidence, and there's some talk about Bigfoot's getting shot too. So, there's a government conspiracy aspect involved as well.
But before you, Patrick, I'll say this, Leon. He heavily implied that it was had something to do with the military, and again, that's a huge red flag for me.
And they just found him, I think, because he had evidence that was on a TV show, and it's they somehow reached out to him, and that's how he had started the relationship with them, and he then got the crystal clear pictures and then had to scale back the quality of them so it wouldn't reveal the actual source.
Or the technology? Or is it
the technology? Yeah, technology and the source, which, he kind of already gave away in his explanations of is basically the military, and it's, aerial drone type technology at 1,500 feet.
It's too bad Steve's not here. I know he's out.
I invited him.
I know, but he's out checking out magical singing Sasquatch.
Oh yeah. He's up there at the tree, huh? I couldn't go with him. Yeah, there's a storm coming in, and I told him, it's going to be the best time. I think he's going to get some really good results. I think if he does a video and gets the results, I think he's going to get. It's going to show you guys a lot.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we need is the idea of people who know what they're talking about. And like Steve would break that whole thing down for us about what camera was, whether it would be available, especially he would know that information because he does all the major programming for certain major projects on the planet, especially with the military. I see that hand. Go ahead.
I know what I'm talking about. And and I mean, Steve's an engineer. Like, he worked on the concept for the F-23 and all that. And yeah, that's great knowledge. But I know enough about what I'm seeing and what I know about aerial modern day platforms and even military platforms that it's kind of a joke to even suggest that this is anything military. I could do better with I could do better with this guy right here. Like I could do better just with what I'm holding in my hand. So,
well, I think another angle of it too is it's when you're going to want to show somebody something, you ask this one basic question: is this going to further what we're moving towards, or is this just going to murky the evidence bin that we already have? Every food coloring in it, the size of a 50 billion size gallon aquarium.
Yeah,
and the question is, it doesn't help because it's just another one of those things of. A new Sasquatch documentary's coming out. We found DNA. We got clear pictures of it, and then you watch it, and it's like womp 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 womp. It's not even close to what we would think in our minds, all of us, what would be clear, which is at least something. I mean, worse on camera here, and it's not crystal clear, but I know I'm a human. Patrick looks like a human. I don't know. Brent kind of looks like a human, and you and Pat, you're kind of like a recovered, got a COVID vaccine from having being a zombie for 3 years. I mean, you look pretty good, man. Your skin's all come back, your flesh, you got a good complexion look. So it can be so maddening to me that, which I mentioned before about, I've always used the word crazy. I'm upgraded to madness because I don't know what else to explain it as. Here, Justin puts out that video claiming or trying to get the resources he can from the places he can. This information's been around for 10 years from people who've vetted it before. That information is not getting online because Brent got hooked into this one. I got hooked into this one. Most everyone got hooked into this one when we first seen it because it looked pretty damn good. So these other people who are not continuing to notify the next seasons of people who come online, that's what we're talking about is, the madness has got to stop so that people can kind of move forward. I'm trying to think of, should I use some form of death background music? Do, 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 like you did with Brent, you did that last video there with the recorder about the tree and it was off tune. Just when I saw that, right? So I got everything written down for the last Mohicans, the good, the bad, and the ugly theme song, Bohemian Rhapsody, I Will Follow You, I'm a Little Light, to try to get an atmosphere to say, okay, this is garbage. It's dead. This is over. We get it. All of us know, and so don't buy into these guys. Now, so I've been trying to work on this project, and what drawback gets back to me is I get comments coming, well, how do you know, Leon? Well, do your research. I'm not here to do your research. It's pretty easy to find out stuff and then track stuff even more down. I'm still getting more information about that whole story. And Justin didn't get it totally accurate or whatever like that, but he's trying to show us that there's something wrong here, And then, but the people who keep asking me, well, so you give them an answer. So instead of giving the answer, I give them a suggestion, because 7 laws of learning, first rule of the law of the learner is number 1 is don't do for the learner what they can do for themselves. Go camping, bring eggs, bring a pan. How are you going to flip the eggs now that you put them in the pan? I'll remember the frickin' flipper next time, I'll tell you. Or I don't bring matches. I'll remember the matches next time. That's how you learn. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying to figure things out. And yet, so I suggested to this one particular person, and it's not that people are not intelligent, it's just that they've been influenced and primed. And so I'll give you a hand, so-and-so. Look, his comment to me was, I went and I watched all the breakdowns, and that right there made my bell ring. Don't watch the breakdown. Neutralize the whole thing like Brent did with the tree. Take Sasquatch out of the equation and ask this question. If I was going to do that, how could I do that? First of all, find out who the person was that posted the video. Do backtracking. Next question. Absolutely. Why would he do the video? And if you can find, the third question is an outside source that's valid in what they're talking about, that know about the incidents that were connected with the incident. So you have a full round permission, which I thought was good. The response I got back was, I don't have time to do all this. And yet I do. That's just one bloody video.
Right, yeah.
And you guys have all done these videos. And so the next question, so I sent back, because I'm, wanting to help this guy. I sent him back a couple of the comments and that. And what I'm waiting for is to see whether or not he has the capacity, instead of keep coming back with another question. Instead of, don't you get it? The facts are right here. Go look for them. So so I don't have to keep explaining it. So you don't say, well, Leon says, right? Or Brent says, or whoever says. And so I actually sent them that video, and I'm waiting to see what the response is back. Because if he comes back again with another question, so this is like me saying to you about, in the future, they're going to have a thing that actually has your cell phone on it, a compass on it, a camera on it, a recorder on it. It's also going to have maps on it. It's going to have all this kind of stuff on it, and it's going to look like this. And they come back with, yeah, but it's black. What the hell has that got to do with what we're looking at here? Nothing. So they go to this irrelevant statement instead of looking at even Justin's video. I've read some of the comments down below his video, and then people are saying, oh, here's a guy trying to make money and stuff like that. Nobody makes money online. What are you talking about? Or, he just listens to one guy, because he mentioned my name. And he just goes with that. I thought, what about the 90% of the other video where that's all his stuff? None of that's my stuff.
Exactly.
His stuff. Why don't you go check that out and see if he's correct? And if he's not, he'll fess up to it. He'll probably thank you for improving his information he's getting on it. But it's so tainted out here that, even like you're doing right now, this is a risky chat to do.
But how so?
Well, because we have friends. The good thing is most of us friends know that we're not against each other, right?
No.
Right. And that's the key part. So that's beneficial for the networks we're in a network with. But there are some temperamentalness that's out there. And some people can be a little offended by the whole thing. I have some other questions about that whole thing myself, but we can talk about that a little later. Patrick, you look like you had your finger up there.
I did. And everything you're saying is spot on. I agree with everything you have to say. And also, you're talking about people there who are defending something they're emotionally attached to. Mm-hmm. They see it, they believe they're emotionally attached to it. Oh, it's real. Instead of doing due diligence and critical thinking, first off, how did this person get this crystal clear image of a Sasquatch after all these years of people not being able to do it? And then asking all the right questions of the source of it, and could it be CGI, and of course what you're talking about. Well, then also,
who is this person that sent you this? If any of us got something sent to us, which I have, maybe you guys have as well. Mm-hmm. I've had it more than once. Again, to let you know, I work with the government. I used to be a special blah 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 blah. And I've got some really important evidence, but I can't really show anybody, so I need to keep. Then how am I supposed to find out? First of all, if you're not priming my thinking by sending me an email, that this is what I have, which is going to excite me, especially online, because I want to find stuff, and no one else has this information. Remember. So I'm an elite now because I get this information, and I have information that I haven't shared with a lot of people online. Some, but very few that I wouldn't share because of the person's story. That's what drives me bonkers. Is if you're going to make a declaration like that, you at least provide more narrative. And, Carl's not professional. He's not online. He's never done this before. He's got involved with it. So he's learning a lot. He's still vulnerable for.
I'm wondering, Leon, I'm really wondering if he's being trolled himself.
Maybe.
I'm leaning that way, which is even more reason to reach out to the guy, and say, hey, man, somebody's messing with you, dude, because I don't care what you saw. I care how cleaned up that image of the crap you're showing on your video is. That's not military grade technology, dude. I own technology better than that, and I'm a blue collar worker, and I'll have even more advanced technology than I own now, in probably 4 or 5 months. So we're definitely not looking at military grade technology, which is he keeps going, like, alluding to that's what it is. And I really wonder, Leon, again, like, I'm almost reaching out at this point going, hey, dude, I think you're being taken for a ride. Somebody's trolling you. And that's sad and shitty.
Well, I think part of it too is, I'll let you jump in here, Brent, for sure. It's like Brent and I, when we came online, we don't know the online world we walked into.
Right.
And we are vulnerable because we are excited about this, which opens us up, unfortunately, to be more trusting than what we should have been, which is true for me. Brent can say what he wants about that. But part of the thing of researching what happens to a person when they go into any system, including the Bigfoot system, you have to drink the Kool-Aid to a certain degree. So from the inside out what the people in this system are experiencing emotionally, inside out, instead of staying the objective observer. You can't drink too much of that Kool-Aid, because if you do, working in cults, you will be either taken into the cult, or if you don't drink enough of that Kool-Aid, you're going to be seen as the other and recognized as the other. So we're not talking the same way. So what we're trying to do here is also provide a different way of hearing how people talk about dealing with Sasquatch in the best way we can, with a systematic way and scientific method, using techniques like the baloney detection kit to clear this bloody water that we've been in so long. Carl is kind of, he's only been online for a while, and it's going to take him a while to negotiate. If that's what's happening to him, we got taken in. Brent, you and I got taken in, did we not?
Yeah.
Brent can talk to this.
Yeah. And so that, not just in one way, you and I personally from the same source, and then the other one that you had was, we both got taken in because we were doing research, and scientific researchers get taken in all the time. So, and if you don't believe,
we've developed better skills from those experiences. So it was a good thing that we experienced, and that's what we try to teach is, show other people, what kind of can happen. And so it helps with the learning curve. So they don't encounter it, can recognize it a lot better, and, not have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, and you were saying earlier there, I've just lost it off my brain. Pat, over you, Pat. Anyone else? Back to me in a second.
Well, I'm not of the Bigfoot community. Even though I came in, I experienced, I saw, and I mean, I am now, but it's not like I came up through the Bigfoot community for 20 years. I did I was in the primitive side of things. Where was I going with that? I'm tired.
Everybody's tired tonight. Everybody's tired tonight.
Well, okay, drinking the Kool-Aid. Yeah. I never got taken in. Not one time ever did I ever get taken in. I had people, it was like the cloaking and the UFOs and the portals and everything thrown my way when I come in. Everything is thrown at you as a newcomer. You come in, everybody throws this stuff at you. It's a big wad of stuff. But to me, I had a file. I had a file created of non-factual information, and I literally posted it on this pegboard, for lack of a better image, and kept them up there while I discerned out everything using what I learned and used, and then taking what is said, not dismissing it, but being constructive and critical thinking with it, and I still have a whole pile of stuff over there, but I never got took in, So yeah, there's a way to get into this without getting taken in, but there's like Leon said, there's a whole ball of stuff there, that you can wind up with it on you.
Yeah. Brent, you want to share something there?
Me? No, I'm
okay.
I definitely agree with what you guys are saying. I think it's okay to ask questions, and we should, help each other understand the evidence that we're presenting, the Bigfoot evidence, and because that's the way it should be.
One more thing, real quick.
Go for it.
And this isn't a personal attack on anybody that talks about clandestine military information and people that they're trying to protect. I have a whole community of thousands of people that in the primitive living skills community I protect every day, on this show, even right now. Okay, I understand about protecting people. Okay, I can discuss things that happened that I'm out in the mountains and I'm at a primitive doings, and I can discuss this without disclosing anything. Okay, I don't have to be cryptic or cloak and dagger, as Brent puts it, to protect people. But it just but I'm not going to have a show. I'm not going to put on a show to where, hey, look at all these blurred images. I'm not going to do that show.
Yeah, and I think I did the same
me
thing.
neither.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Like, it's a waste of people's time. And honestly, if we waited and we just got one 30-second really good video, and waited another 3 months and got 10 really good solid photos that we knew were pretty solid, that would actually engage us to be more into it. Because we were culturalized, this is the difference, Patrick and Pat, actually, is you guys weren't culturalized in the Bigfoot scene from the inside out. Like you said, you were protected from that. And so you're coming at it from a more untainted waters, you could say.
Absolutely.
But from doing it from Brent's side, because he was just interested in my side as a researcher, I still have to tap inside of the poison a bit. It's kind of like taking poison so you don't get sick by the poison. And to try to negotiate what is the validity of it, and also trying to figure out why are people thinking that and why do they think that way, because we all do, and then learning a whole bunch of stuff about all that kind of stuff. But there was definitely some things that I had some questions about, which you probably caught. I asked only one question the whole time, and that was, did you see this? Was this thing looking at you face on for the whole time as it was leaving the area? And do you guys remember what he said to that question?
Oh no, I never saw that. Like, I honestly, I couldn't go past half an hour. Like, I had to watch the same first 30 minutes.
Okay, so there's a couple of things. I read body language and that, and I listen. I'm not saying anything bad about Carl. Now, it's stupid we even have to say that, because we're not coming from that angle at all, because we're looking at the data objectively. So reading body language, you have to look at it objectively. Yeah. The first question I had was, he was saying, there's a part he was talking about where he said, it was funny when you're really, it happened really quickly, but it was like 30 seconds, which is a long time. And then later on, he said it was about 6 seconds. 6 seconds. So count as 6 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the time roughly this event happened. Cross the roadway, down the rocks, into the gully area. I remember the story correctly. 6 seconds that's happening. Cross the road, down the rocks, into the gully. Did you see it face on? Was it watching you the whole time as it was fleeing the area? No. It only looked at me once. Out of the 6 seconds, how many seconds is that? Only the once. At the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
1 second, maybe. Mm-hmm. So you have 1 second for your brain to come up with clear, high definition imprint in your brain, which can happen. if the event's unfolding the way it's supposed to be unfolding. But to get in the detail the way the detail was, there's a whole bunch of other sides of this stuff I could share offline, unfortunately. But that does not add up to me. The timeline does not add up. The information in his head doesn't add up, and the way he's articulating. I understand what's going on there with him. He's not being deceptive. I'll let you know that. But there's something else going on in the way his processing works in his head. There's a very specific way I could show you that, but fortunately I can't, guys, because I care for Carl. So
yeah, and to be fair to him, I mean, again, like, oh my God, this is not a freaking attack. So I really don't want to make.
Okay, we know that. So let's stop even saying that, because we know that's not what we're trying to do here. It's like you guys find me, but I'm just starting out again, and you guys are doing a rescue mission to help me understand it. But I'm a bit too much sucked in. So I'm a little defensive because I don't know, and I'm a little vulnerable because I want to be right, and I'm excited about being right, and I have people watching me. But it doesn't mean that he's bad-hearted and not with good intent. It means that he hasn't walked through the water we walked through yet to realize, oh, this is the water. It's mucky and toxic. Yeah,
and as far as, like, you know, his willingness to go on air and tell the story, God, that almost just leans even more towards, like, I feel like he's being trolled. Maybe not. You know, it could be the other way around.
Well, there's the third option is his cognitive dissonance and his, what's the other one there? Brent goes along with cognitive dissonance, where your confirmation bias.
Yeah, confirmation.
We had that. Brent and I both had it when we first got online. We were confident because, again, we were trusting what we were feeling about what we were hearing and picking up as regards to data, forgetting about being primed about people getting brains primed by a narrative they're hearing online. Because I'm not interested in, I'm more interested as soon as I'm online and I've already got this excitement in me. I don't care about good, bad, or ugly stuff. I just want all the good stuff, and all of it's going to be the good stuff because I'm excited about Sasquatch. You know, everyone always says this is an addicting thing. It is an addicting thing. So you throw that adrenaline shot in there with every experience you have, and you're open, totally, your system's totally open. I'm going to find out as much information I can about this. So all that dump truck comes in, pours into your system, and you have to filter through it, but it's going to go through your own cognitive dissonance of, I believe this is happening, and what's going on. I want it to believe it's happening. Leon, is it happening to you, though? So this goes back to what we all talk about, is we say that back to ourselves. Am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Not, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing because I'm now triggered in an event that's happening? You have to get yourself back, leave the area, maybe come back 3 weeks later with an objectiveness to you, that you don't get sucked into the environmental energy that's going on, that you may be actually discharging as well into the environment. And it's not easy to do this kind of stuff. But
it's not.
We're trying to help people, not just,
it's, that's true. But in this case, because there's in the narrative, there's a third party involved. Okay,
there always is.
So that only leaves two possibilities. You know, that somebody's trolling him bad, which I'm really leaning towards, or he's making it up. You know, or it's all true. You know,
making something up in the big
presented right.
Making something up in the Bigfoot phenomenon. I don't know if you guys ever run across that. I mean, like, what percentage do you guys run across, like, stuff being made up in the Bigfoot phenomenon? Is it in the 70s, 70%, 80%?
People just don't. They don't do
that. What are you talking? You're obviously smoking something over there in Washington State.
Dude, I debunked a video of a guy videoing this dark mass Sasquatch walking out in the bush, and the Sasquatch turns and looks at him, has reflective eyes, and turns away. And when it does that, I stop it and I zoom in and screenshot it. And there's a blonde-haired guy with wire rim glasses with reflectors right here that are down like this, so he can see over the top of them, with a black hoodie on, and he's creeping around the bush. And he's shining his reflector eyes out the camera. Okay, so yeah, I mean, that happens, and I think those people should be held accountable. Okay, if they don't label it a hoax, they should be labeled. They should be held accountable legally.
or
I
at least
just
put entertainment on their channel. If they did something like that, because I think a lot of these channels and possibly Carl's, it's more for
a lot
entertainment.
of
It's more
a
for
lot of
the
satire, yeah, and
well,
stuff.
not
I
satire so
mean,
much, but like LARPing of what a Bigfoot investigator would be like.
right.
Kind of like playing the role of a certain thing, and that's really more common than I think most people realize in the subject. It's you
It
got
is.
Peter Kane, that's the extreme where it's like
Peter
so
Kane, yeah,
obvious, and then
yeah,
you have other people like Ken King, for instance, Arkansas Bigfoot,
or like
who's the
parody.
one who has a ridiculous video out there with this night video of Bigfoot grabbing an apple, and when same thing with Patrick, when I zoomed in and brightened it up, you can see the black glove where the suit ends, and you can kind of
Yeah,
see him get up and stuff. And these are Bigfoots that are able to cloak and stuff. And but he has a following, and people really like that type of content because like people like us can't produce content like that because we take the subject too seriously. There's people out there that want to have
right.
a following, a something that they control in their lives of, just whatever. And people like to watch that, like with Colorado Bigfoot. A lot of people like to watch that content, even though he says the most ridiculous stuff, like literally the most ridiculous stuff that he even laughs he says it, because I think he even knows it's so ridiculous. And, I think that plays a big part in the YouTube community aspect of Bigfoot research, which is a separate entity of sorts of actual Bigfoot research. And you have another separate of like Bigfoot entertainment, so
Yes,
there's
you're
different
right.
subgroups within the group. And we just have to realize which one that we're kind of focused on. But some people are monetizing this and making money off of it. But I don't think Carl's doing that. I just think he likes, the attention that comes with it. And
Whoa. So there's another option. He could be like you and I were, Brent, at the beginning. It's not about, think of when you and I were in it 2 years into it. We weren't out to feel important about it. He's excited and addicted about Sasquatch. Remember that, Zone?
I do, and I admit I'm really quick to judge now. As far as to jump to the conclusion. I definitely admit it, but I'm usually right most of the time.
Not necessarily. You may be right that the person is incorrect, but is your definition of incorrectness that you're putting on the person's motivation correct? And that's all I'm kind of pointing out. It's easy for us because, like, you and I have talked about this before. You're tainted a little bit from the system because of the burning. It's like Steve and Larry.
I don't have time for a lot of stuff, and it's like, and if they're going to play games as far as like trying to present evidence of like, oh, it's this type of evidence, but you can't really see it, which is a very common theme in the Bigfoot narrative, where it's like, where have I heard that before? It's like it's like you go in any Bigfoot group and you can actually get that type of story, that type of narrative, and it's just like, oh, great, I just wasted.
Yeah, and the question is, remember, they're parroting it. They heard it. They were primed by it. That's why everyone's saying it. It's just like a church. Everyone's depending what Christian denomination you come from. You'll talk the Christian denomination language from that denomination. There's 30,000 of them. So that's when we're talking about presenting a different way in content online, which we're talking about being critical thinkers. Critical thinking isn't about criticizing. Critical thinking is about education. And because 90%
way to think,
everybody is coming online doesn't have that way of thinking, Pat, thank you. We have to help them. They're not coming in trying to be deceptive, and we already have a lot of those.
Not everybody, but there are certain people, and they all have certain characteristics with certain,
but that's not our target.
That's
not our target. Our target is the people who are coming in. I'll let you jump in here, Patrick, in a second here. Our target is for the people coming online to give them good, solid stuff. So those other channels, when they watch it, they go, I just can't do this anymore. This is like eating white bread for 7 years straight. There's nothing here. There's no peanut butter on it, no jam, no shaved turkey. It's just bland.
No flavor.
What we're missing. But the problem is the system. We've all been affected by it. We've been in it for 5 years for sure. You can't, systems that are organic, they have these hidden forces that seep into our system. And a lot of like the critical thinking sites, because they've seen so much garbage for 10 years, 15 years, to them, it's just common, because every year they're asked the same video or shown the same video 50 times by different people saying, yeah, but what about this one, right? What they should be also assisting the people that are coming online is like me trying to do up this video of, these are garbage, you guys. Now, after I do the video, I'm not going to explain it to anybody. There's no use after that point. But I got to keep those videos coming on, and I think you guys should do the same styles of videos coming on, showing the stuff that's not factual. And people will do the research if we get this kind of little logo that we can all put on our channels, right? That we're all part of this specific style of thinkers, and this is how we think. And when you see this logo, you know these people follow these standards that are on the Bigfoot scene. That's another threat to this craziness that's out here, this madhouse that we've got into. When most people go on and catch some of these things, like you're saying, Mark, what's his name?
Colorado Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's like people who come home from work, they want nothing. They just want something that's mindless but interesting and mysterious and all that kind of stuff. And
and they get involved with the characters too, as far as like being, TV characters. They start, identifying, and that's kind of what I've noticed. What it is with Mark, he's able to go out and create a really good narrative of what he's, he can, create a Bigfoot narrative anywhere. Like he can go to the mall and create a Bigfoot narrative of like, and make it entertaining. And people are drawn to that, and when you try to challenge that, take away their TV show, that's when they really kind of start getting defensive, because they're emotionally attached not only to the evidence but to the people as well, and the friendships that get involved behind the scenes of the people involved will also, I think play a factor in really honestly discussing certain evidence and research that's being presented.
Okay, Patrick, here's your chance.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
I was just taking it all in, and
nothing at the bit there earlier.
And then, I had a funny thing to do to Brent, but y'all are so sound like you got jaded, dude. But
yeah.
Well, you got left at the altar, did you?
No, it's the same. It's the same type of thing
cynical.
of like. It's the same type of thing of like it's the same shoddy type of evidence of where it's like, it's a waste of my time, and I'm not here to waste my time, because I have a life outside of this hobby of mine, and I'd like to, make as much progress and help this subject as much as I can by giving it an honest interpretation of what's actually going on out there, and honest interpretations of the research and researchers that I come across. And I try to do it in such a good way, but sometimes there's certain things where it's just so insulting to our intelligence. It's like, really, dude? I mean, really? I mean, that's what it kind of comes down to. It's like, it's so insulting that it just like, that's where it triggers that jadedness of like, gosh, you're wasting not only my time, but everybody else's time, and reeling other people to help validate this by using their trustworthiness. And it's I have a different opinion apparently than you guys.
I can do. I just think we're going to attack. Sorry, I will shut up after this. We are all going to attack the same people you're attacking, but it's because those people, that is crazy though. But the most people, the problem is if you have been left at the altar, as Patrick has said, you have an attitude that you're showing us visually when you're talking and stuff. You don't have it on your videos, but it certainly comes out when we're online together.
Yeah.
And that the thing we got to remember, it's not 90% of the people out there, and they're not intelligent. They've been submersed in, it's called normalization. One set of group has a higher IQ with a lower set of group with a higher IQ. And the funny thing is they'll eventually balance themselves out a bit, but the higher IQ goes down. And the lower IQ thinks it's gone up, but it's still below where it needs to be, which is up here. And so you have to keep that in your mind, that it's not, you have an audience, which we're all trying to educate. My audience sometimes is watching your guys' audiences and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's our audience. So if we got these people checking out 4 different channels that are all talking the same way. We want to put a different emotional imprint. And Patrick, over to you. Sorry.
I'm picking on you. Well, the discussions just like this, okay? When I stepped into the Bigfoot world, coming out of the study and the groups that I run with, I was looking for people to bounce ideas off of. I thought, man, I'm going to go in here and find a Bigfoot expert, and I can talk to this person about things and bounce ideas off of them and get responses back. And I did not. I don't perceive I found that.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what we have now, what's put together now as a network of people, of critical thinkers who can discern out information and at least put it in a perspective to where, you could tell someone, you can believe it if you want to, but you might want to research it. That is extremely important as far as education, like what you're pushing for, because there's no way in the world we have time to fight the fires behind us that the hoaxers keep lighting. Okay, we don't have time to turn around and fight that.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't have we could debunk everything they put out there, but to what end? What's
that's a job upon itself. That's a job upon itself. I
mean, what would you get out of it? You really wouldn't get anything out of it.
No, not really.
So
we wouldn't, but the people who would be following us, because if we had those people ahead of us, not necessarily Patrick, but Brent and I, we would have had heads up a long time ago about what the reality is of the system we've walked into.
Yeah.
And we're everybody's gullible. I don't care if you think you're not. We're all have the capacity to be taken in by everything, even the smart people. So
my point was that educating people like you're talking about and you're doing makes people critical behind us, so that all those people that are hoaxers, we don't have to put those fires out ourselves. They can do the work themselves.
100%.
Work that out in their heads as they're watching it and be skeptical of it. I think that's the first thing, is that you have to be skeptical. You can't, and that's a bad word in the Bigfoot world.
Well, it's I don't think people really talk about how to be skeptical in a Bigfoot investigation.
That's where I was going,
because we're all on our own investigation of sorts. All of us, the people in the chat, the people who are casually looking into it, they're starting their own investigation. We're all starting our own. So that's where I was going with that, but
no,
anyways,
that's fine. It's just that, unfortunately, the word skeptic has become a bad word in the Bigfoot world.
Well, it means you're a dick a lot of the time, or you're a troll.
You just saw a bear. That's what it's become. And that's not what a freaking skeptic is. Like,
I know a lot of people actually think I'm skeptical to the point where it's like, I don't believe Bigfoot is real. And it's like, that's far from the truth. I actually put a lot of time and resources trying to find out, to try to learn the truth, because I do think that there's something to it. And I really want to find out as much as I can and as quick as I can. And that's why I think us wasting our time on bad information will just derail people's investigation and maybe cause resources to be used, like John with that snake oils thing, how he got burned financially, and which happens a lot. I mean, look what happened with Brian Sykes and that Bigfoot tree. He spent tens of thousands of dollars on researching something that was easily vettable, with a clear mind and in no time at all. And it's just one of those things.
We're all skeptical of something, and that's what people don't understand. Even whoever you are, if you're a human freaking being, you're skeptical of something, and people just need to learn how to get in tune and in touch with their natural skepticism, because there's all kinds of there's a million different situations I could bring up, that that would happen in life that people would go, whoa, this isn't right, right? So it's the same kind of thinking, just on a different level about a different subject, that maybe you should dial your cherished belief back a little bit and have some healthy skepticism.
Or maybe look up online on Wikipedia, what is a skeptic?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
go to the
look up
basics.
the
Go to
actual
the basics
definition of
and
skeptic
find
or
out what a
skepticism.
skeptic is, so
Mhm.
you understand that because people are saying things that sound contrary to what you might believe doesn't mean they're being sarcastic. Because that's
Yeah.
what the person who doesn't understand what a skeptic is. That's not what we're doing here. We're not attacking like what Carl's thing. We're trying to figure out.
I'm a skeptic. I'm a skeptic.
Well, that's why we're doing what we're doing. And
I'm skeptical of a lot of the stuff being presented now, and
I'm skeptic about the whole damn thing.
Yeah, well, you're allowed to.
You know?
Yeah, like I said, like when John did that snake oil, working on that snake oil thing, he had every right to come at me and say, make sure the door hits you on the ass. He's the first person, because I've always said it to you guys, release the hounds on me. And that's exactly what he did. And boy, did he ever. First out of the gate, goes to my Facebook page, looks at my Facebook page, comes back on, puts this slam on there, just rude prick is what he seemed like. But he wasn't a rude prick. He was a hurting. He got used and he got burned and he had that.
Yes,
he had the toxicity of the thing. And he did exactly what I tell people to do, because I can stand and bear under what I'm declaring. So if I ever say this is a Sasquatch, release the hounds on me viciously.
Yeah, same here.
And he was fair enough.
Could that have been avoided, Leon? Could somebody have saved him from that?
Yeah, if we would have put out stuff saying this person's a complete moron, and we recirculated it amongst a variety, not just to see. The problem with online is somebody good comes online. Like I get this a lot. Leon's on every channel. He's on every channel. Well, if you find 5 good people, and there's 50 good channels out there, and those people are actually worth having on your channel, they're going to go through the circuits. So they're going to be everywhere. The problem is you're saturated everywhere online.
Yep.
And so it seems like we're all saying the same stuff. Well, we are, because the audience we have in that is the same audience questions that we would get in every other channel. And I want to continue to move past these questions, but I also have these different people that want to know this information they might find interesting that any of us would share. Then we go to the next level, and it takes time for the ideas to go through into a system and start grabbing hold. And that's what we're seeing. It's people are grabbing hold of what we're trying to help them understand what a skeptic is, what critical thinking is. Not, and it's going to take years. You guys, you've got a good 5 years of good solid stuff, and the changing of the videos. The other channels are going to have a hard time existing because it's going to be bland. It'll be way too bland for them. Patrick, I see your finger there again.
Well, the other channels will
be. You don't want to say anything.
The other channels will not be bland. They'll be full of flat earthers.
Hey, I can handle that.
But anybody that cannot stand, or afraid of scrutiny or critical thinking or being put to, okay, take us out and show us what you're doing. Anybody against that, you really have to, that throws a red flag for me. Because I've had people say you're full of it, with a straight face, and then to take them out and get them yelled at, knocked at, stuff thrown at them, but then that person still turn around, and I understand the disbelief side, but I told them, you asked me to do this and I did this. I'm responsible for what I handed to you with the information and the experiences I handed to you. I'm not responsible for how you perceive them. Okay.
Yeah. If somebody wants to do a show about me and how I'm full of shit, I'm trying to get into the show. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As they're doing it live, I'm like, hey, somebody send me a link. I'll come on and talk to you right now. I don't care if it's just me in general, my show, or if I come out one day and say, hey, I've got some cool footage I can't show you guys because whatever. There's reasons for that. There's reasons why people would sit on stuff. I might sit on something,
But I wouldn't talk about it. There's things I don't talk about.
It would be hard to not talk about it, but you're right. You shouldn't talk about it. It's very like black white. Like if you have it, don't talk about it until the time is right. But yeah. But if somebody wants to do a show on me or anything I've ever said on air or whatever, and they're doing a whole show on me. I'm trying to get into that show right then and there. Like, so maybe that's just me. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out the psychology. I'm not an expert on it. I'm just me, and that's what I would do.
Well, in some ways, I'm like Brent. Actually, in a lot of ways, I'm like Brent. But I don't put it out there as far as, I'm not going to sit there and spill it out there. But I do have issues with, and I'm not talking bad about you. I'm not. It's just, I just try to internalize and put out what's constructive, I guess. But constructive criticism is helpful. It really is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why the road I kind of try to take with it when dealing with that stuff.
But I'm trying to get out to the point that there are entities here in that I don't trust. Okay, I've had black truck. I always rolled my eyes that someone said, "Oh, I had a black vehicle follow me around." I had helicopters follow me around. Well, guess what? That started happening to me. Okay, I started having black vehicles follow me around with tinted windows. I had a white unmarked truck, 4-door, with a cage between the front and back seats behind me when the black truck was there also. Okay, I have certain issues with that. I'm a suspicious person, but I don't throw it out there as much. But, my part of is how much are we going to be able to get put out there? Okay, how much information can we put out there? Okay, it may not be all the information we have, but how much can we put out there before you start having something following you around?
I don't know, man.
That's
my speech, dude.
That's kind of an issue with me, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's a stupid thing to see out there in my area being followed around twice by this black truck. And not just followed, but I mean actually stopped. The guy stopped and is sitting there casing me. Okay, so I am,
pull a gun.
I Q-beamed him. He was sitting there in the dark. And I took my spotlight that shines half a mile and I hit him right in the face with it. I said, "I see you." And the lights come on, he tears out. Okay.
Nice.
Now
we did the right thing.
Now it creeps me out and it makes me feel like I'm some kind of a nut saying that that's what happened, but that is the reality of the situation. And so there's an aspect of this that I don't know about as far as that goes. And I tuck it away, but I don't know what to do with that.
No. If you're going to follow me and threaten me, you better be a freaking Navy SEAL. That's all I have to say.
Well, it's just another one of those Bigfoot type stories where, it's more of a story that's perpetuated by somebody who, where everything cryptid is real and possible because it's good for business.
Yeah, it's an easy scapegoat, and I'm not saying that that wasn't weird, Patrick. Like, I mean that your anecdotal account aside, it's generally easy scapegoat in the Bigfoot world to either blame or include government.
Yeah.
Oh, I was talking about the comment, not what Patrick was saying. What I was saying.
that was my immediate go-to was, when someone talks about it, that's like portals or some stuff. Okay,
Yeah, me too.
My tracking partner was with me both times. Okay, we literally had an investigation going, but they don't know it. We're sitting there, and I'm waiting, for interaction, and this guy's sitting there, 80 yards off, watching me in the dark, and I know he's there, and I Q-beam him, and he immediately tears out of there. And then the second time, my tracking partner, he says, he pulls by us, and he has a ham radio set up in the back of his truck. As he pulls by us, blacked out windows, and my tracking partner says, "Well, let's chase him down." And he had just made maybe 200 yards in front of us around a curve. And when we got there wasn't nothing but dust, and I chased him doing 70 miles an hour, straightening curves out, and the dust eventually faded to nothing. I never caught the guy. Okay, a normal person isn't going to drive that way.
Right.
Yeah, I've never encountered any sort of government cover up in my personal investigation into talking to people and my own experiences out in the woods and all that type of stuff. So that's my experience with it.
I would never believe that part existed, and part of me still says it doesn't. It's just, why did this happen? It's a question in my head.
I think there's an element. I think, and by the way, you're muted, Leon. I don't know if you know that, but I think there's an element, boots on the ground element that would almost have to know. I mean, these are wildlife professionals, so dude, if we're encountering them, they're encountering them, right? That's their job, is to be out in the freaking woods every day. So I think there's an element, and I just think they try and put out fires where they can. It's sort of my theory. It doesn't go all the way to the top. Like Donald Trump could never keep his mouth shut if he knew something about Bigfoot. I'm sorry, Well, so the government isn't the issue. I think it's compartmentalized, boots on the ground area, kind of thing going on.
Well, I mean, I had a federal game warden lie to me about bear in my area. Lied to me straight to my face, and
Sure.
and would not leave until he felt that he was convinced that I was convinced it was a pig that did that. Okay. I had to tell him, oh, a pig did that. He goes, yeah, a pig did that. And then he walks off smiling. So I have a trust issue there. All right. And so, I
would have told that guy to go F himself. Man, what?
Yeah, okay. A pig swam out there, caught these fish, drug these fish up on land, ate them, took a crap, went under a bush in the tall grass, took a nap, and then walked off with bare paws. Okay, and it's a pig. So, that causes trust issue.
Yeah.
And that's why
the weird mountain lion thing that happens out here on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Up and down the East Coast, Fish and Wildlife, or DNR, your state people, mostly it's the state people, just refuse to admit they're mountain lion when there's a freaking population of them in the East Coast. So that every single state pretty much refuses to admit there's a living population of mountain lion in the state, and so it's kind of similar in a weird way.
Is it because they haven't themselves got the evidence needed to declare that they are existing in that state?
100% cover up. So this is a legit. These wildlife officials are absolutely lying when they say there's not a living population of mountain lion in this state, which it might be. So any state up and down the East Coast.
Okay.
They will not admit. They'll say there is no living population. So they kind of leave
a transitional population,
right?
Migrational population.
They're leaving that door open. To be fair. But the truth is, there's a living population. So they're outright lying, and they know they're lying. They know mountain lion are there, and we cannot figure out why. Like, why? I mean, it's just a mountain lion. You'd think hikers would need to know about this information, right?
My hypothesis on that. This is my hypothesis. Someone actually brought it to my attention, and I think it's interesting. But I adopted the hypothesis, and I can't prove it, but they are game wardens. Okay, they're there to protect animals, even if that means lying to you. All right.
I guess, but I mean, mountain lions are 100% known and accepted on the West Coast, or out in the West, I'll say, right from the Rockies on out.
We actually have a guy who
so why not here?
In some of the remote areas, he has a couple of dogs that he puts on his hood, and those dogs are trained to smell out mountain lions, because his job is to push these mountain lions back up out of these areas where it's close to people, because they try to limit, Washington's really good about their wildlife human interaction. They try to be very articulated about it by, removing certain things. And that's what it's, yeah, I mean, so we definitely have a lot of mountain lions here. We don't have the attacks though. I mean, we had somebody killed a few years ago, but that was a lot because of the mistakes they made. And, but that was the first time in 96 years that somebody got killed by a mountain lion. So
it's very rare. But again, why on the East Coast? Oh, they don't exist. And the other half of the country, oh yeah, they exist and it's no problem. We know they're there. But it's almost it's a strange correlation to Bigfoot almost. Like,
well, in a way, but in a way, they are kind of saying they do exist by admitting that there's no breeding population, but there are potentially ones that are migrating through, or maybe trying to do whatever, but they get killed by a rancher or whoever, or hit by a car or something like that.
Or filmed. They get filmed all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was 4 of them filmed in Florida a few months ago.
Well, I can track big cats most places around here in Louisiana, and our game wardens have yet to express that they are here. I can't say they're covering it up, but they're definitely not acknowledging it. And I'm not saying it's some big conspiracy thing. I'm just saying that, if you come to me and you lie to me about something, well, the next question I ask, I'm going to question whether or not you're telling me the truth or lying to me. That's just my own mindset. And so if I go to game warden and ask him, hey, is Bigfoot real? And he says, absolutely not. But you just told me a bear ain't real here in Louisiana. So, that causes certain issues with my way of thinking, and it's definitely an issue.
Was it that particular ranger, or was it the actual offices for that region, their position that there's no mountain lions? Because there are some, I could see some people not, be more ignorant to what's actually around them because they don't have the skill set to see what's around them. So is that a possibility with that one, or
these people go, these boots on the ground people go in and do population studies every year before hunting season to determine, how long the season's going to run, how many tags of what kind of tags get put out. Okay. And it's not, they check on the deer, the pigs, they go all over this place. It's not like I have a vast forest of thousands of miles of forest. I mean, you're literally talking tens of thousands of acres of land, and, here and then further away, there'll be some more. So it's not like there's some vast forest. So I have no doubt that they've seen, big cat. I found a big cat kill. I tracked its cub and the mama. I heard it meowing coming through the woods about dark, and my son, who's an absolute idiot, that's what I called him. He's not an idiot really, but I called him that, was meowing back at the cat, and we're 3 miles back here, and we got 30 minutes of daylight left. And I'm trying to tell him we have to get out of here, but he wants to play with this whatever's meowing out there. Okay, 10 years old. We got to get out of here, But, yeah, I mean, if I can find them, I know they can. And I was just hunting with a 10-year-old, But, there's a question there of how come there's denial, even if it's plausible.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's I've theorized. I mean, all I could do is theorize. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe these guys are doing us a favor. Maybe if there is this little group of kind of rogue Men in Black type, which they would have to be. They're not answering to the Secretary Department of Interior.
See, that's another issue I had. What about if this is a private group?
Right.
Okay, because I'm not going in the back of that white truck with a cage. I'm sorry, I'm armed.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
there may be some sheriffs show up and drag me to jail for something, but I'm not
Right.
going in the back of that truck. It ain't happening.
Right. Yeah. I hear you.
I'm so glad I'm a Canadian. We don't even think like you guys, and not you guys, but we don't even think that way. It's like, why would our brains go there? They're like, why? It's not
Because
that's
it's
not
weird.
happening.
I mean, it's
like
kind of weird. You know?
Well, it's weird. I mean, I've had choppers. Matter of fact, I was doing a video once and checking out this area that I go to quite often. All of a sudden, you hear choppers coming in. I think there's 2 or 3 of them, and I go, "Oh no, Black Op, cop! You know, they must know we're out here. They're following our cell phones. You know." And it's like, well, no, they do military exercise periodically here. They don't announce it to the public.
Yeah.
You know, so. I don't know. Like it just again, it's one of those ideas that fills your brain up when I don't know if it needs to be filling up when I'm needing the rest of my brain to fill up other things.
I agree with that too.
Well, it's one of those things that waste your time. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of doing a complete circle. The reason I had my mute button on there was I was going. There's a tell in the interview near the very end of the interview that tells you. I gotta be cautious how I say this.
Which interview? What do you?
The one we remember why we started this conversation?
Yeah.
Video today.
But which
interview?
show?
That's the one. That's the interview we're talking about, isn't it?
No. Well, there was 2 different.
Well, which is the 2? The one was the one with Carl.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Well, Carl has done 2 different. He did one last night, and then
so
the other one, which is
I see. You're
original.
saying same person, but 2 different videos you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the one that we watched last night. So
okay.
And there's a tell at the very end.
Okay.
And I don't want to say what it is, but it's roughly around. You have a pencil there, you can mark it down. 1 hour, 46 minutes, and 40-second mark.
Oh wow.
That's specific.
Yeah, it's in those few seconds in that zone right there. So and he says
something.
something.
Pull it up and put it on.
What's that?
Is there a way to pull it up and put it on here for us all to
You
observe?
You could. It's up to you. I was going to send it to Pat, but I don't know. His technology. You can do what you want to do with it, but it's very interesting after an hour and 40 minutes of everything he shares, and then he says this statement. Patrick, what did you want to say?
I was just curious if I was sane or not, because you
No, you're not. You're not sane at all.
I'm not sane. Great, because once you're insane, you're free from everything.
I knew it. I knew Patrick was insane.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, the tall Brent has kind of got that that beanie hat kind of pulled down, and I'm a little worried about my safety.
I got my thing here too. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh shit! He's
It's a
Antifa. He's Antifa. Hey, it's almost summer, Brent. You're gonna have to take that thing off one day, buddy.
I know. We're getting there. We just had a cold front coming in, which is why Steve is up there at that Bigfoot tree, because there's a good storm coming in, and I'm pretty confident he's gonna get some really good results there.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear about that, actually. And he did message me, by the way, Leon. He messaged. He's like, I'm up here, blah 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 blah. I was like, it's cool, dude. I just sent you the link. Just wanted you to be a part of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, where were we at? Antifa? Something about Antifa?
I thought we were talking about UFOs that are flying UFOs over Afghanistan. I thought that's what we were talking about. Remember? No, Kat doesn't remember either.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to. I can't. You know what?
But
I don't
cat
want
knows everything.
I don't want to bring up. I don't want to share that show here.
No, that's okay.
I think that'd be
no, I agree. That's why I said I'd try to do it offline so that
right.
Now that I mentioned the timestamp, though, that's now that I've just remembered it again, and which reminded people, oh yeah, the timestamp. I'll write that down. Then they'll check it out, and then I'll
yeah,
there we go.
But that's on them.
Always the educator.
What were you saying, Brent? Thanks.
Were we going to pull that up or?
No,
I don't think that would be appropriate. Yeah,
I'll write it down in my handy dandy notebook and check it out later.
Okay. Yeah, because it's kind of like a subconscious slip. and the word choice is not a good word choice to be putting together after doing the first part of the video. So I think there's something else going out there. It's more about vulnerability, not a thing about Carl. It's more about vulnerability. So
okay, fair enough. I'm just interested in the truth, man. And I got some fair warnings last night. I'll be honest with you. I had this conversation offline. I'm not going to say who with, but I got some warning about that. It's like, well, do you really want to open this can of worms? Blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, I'm like, look, I've got what I've got going on here. This is my platform. And as you guys have seen recently, especially, I'm really more focused on outside the Bigfoot world than inside the Bigfoot world. When it comes to inside the Bigfoot world, it's about, touching those people that might be on the fence, right? If you catch a man a fish, you feed him for the day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him he can feed himself for life, right? That proverb.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm all about inside the Sasquatch world. And there's some people you just can't reach, obviously.
Well, I think it's something that we should probably focus towards is trying to put like protocols together. Like, Steve Coles is a private investigator that uses different private investigator skills that I think somehow needs to get translated and created. So Bigfooters coming on the scene have a go-to guide of like, hey, this is a good way to start your investigation in the Bigfoot subject if you're going to investigate the subject itself, because no matter what, if you're looking into this, you're starting your own investigation. Yeah. And if there's more of a how-to guidebook of how to investigate, there's a way to research things. There's research standards that we can all follow, but nobody's really applied that to the Bigfoot subject.
I say it's all about thinking. For me, it's about thinking. It's about unlocking those tools that you didn't know you had, because that's what happened to me, not having anything to do with the Bigfoot world. When I discovered critical thinking as a concept of a way of thinking 10 years ago, it changed my life. Mm-hmm. And so, like, forget Bigfoot. Uh-oh.
I think Patrick's reading the comment.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm just thinking you just found critical thinking 10 years ago.
Yeah, I did. Hey, when I was younger, I was more of a gullible person, although I was somewhat, without getting too deep in my personal private life. Critical thinking was literally, when I found it, I was like, wow, this is a new, bigger way to think. And it did change my life. Absolutely.
So just as I understand disbelief in the community, because I was a capital S skeptic.
Right.
You undertake your quest as understanding, applying critical thinking to a subject, to your life, because of your life experiences.
Yeah. And I mean, it's good. It's good for your life. It's good to not be gullible in life. Critical thinking helps you with that. Skepticism helps you with that. Even open-mindedness, though. Like, so people think those things don't go together. They actually do. Open-mindedness is nothing more than a willingness to consider new ideas. Mm-hmm. It's not being gullible. It's, I'm open-minded, Patrick, towards your whole story, your whole thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm open-minded to that, and you're convincing me as we go along. So things like that, I feel my place in the Bigfoot world is to reach out to people who are susceptible to being persuaded towards mm-hmm. the critical thinking, skeptical, objective, open-minded way of thinking, and those tools and how important they are and can be in your life. God, I'm starting to sound like a inspirational speaker or something. I don't want to be that guy either.
It's very cool. It's very cool.
But my focus is totally shifted. Even though I'm still here in the Bigfoot world, and I'll always be here for you guys in that way. You guys, I mean, people watching now. My focus is shifted outside the Bigfoot world. Clearly, I've been piercing that bubble, and I will continue to pierce that bubble. I have I got another Bigfoot debate coming up. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, and I asked Leon to do it. He was not able to do it. Timing is next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. So I'm doing another Bigfoot debate. It's going to be 2v2. And so, and having Meldrum on and talking in a different way with Meldrum, and just things like that, man, I really want people who are professionals, I feel need to be brought into this phenomena, if you will. Because the Bigfoot world is just full of all the crap that we've been talking about, and that convolutes everything, and Leon's, sort of analogies of the Kool-Aid and all that stuff, and the Bigfoot world's just not getting it done. It'd be great if we could all get together in one area and figure it out, but we can't, because we're thousands of miles apart.
I picture future viewers of this show going, wow, that is so informative. And then another percentage of them going, no, don't tell me the truth.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of people who don't want to know that truth. They don't want to.
They want to keep the mystery going.
Yeah, when I first came in this subject, I changed my mindset to be very open-minded and believe what these people are presenting. I didn't have a lot of deceitful people in my life. So when I got into the Bigfoot subject, I was a little more naive about it, because I was, I didn't think that, I really had a different opinion of the Bigfoot subject, very naive. I trusted what a lot of people were saying, because it's like, well, they're not going to be saying if it wasn't true, because, nobody else is going to allow that crap to be said. And it was the complete opposite. And it was certain instances or that I personally experienced, or ones that I've seen happen to other people. And I had to really kind of start shifting from, like, a lot of things that you start to believe, start to go away, and the magic of the subject starts to go away. And a lot of people like that magic and want to stay in that, and talking critical and being skeptical takes away that magic from those people, and the stories and all these different things. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of people upset about my opinion on Carl's evidence and his research and stuff. And it's not that I'm trying to be mean. It's just that I think that, we should be aware and know that this stuff happens, because I fell for it. Everybody else will fall for it, because we're all on different levels in this, and if I can help somebody up another level or whatever, I'm all down for it. And I try to be good.
That's the key part that people misunderstand about us, is we're saying this because it happened to us as well. So we're not saying it from a critical perspective. We're saying it from a concerning.
Well, the thing is Carl's response to me. He told me straight up that because I was, talking to him about this in a somewhat more stern way than I normally would, that I'm jealous of his research. And he's calling me out saying, well, where's your research at? Go do a live show and let's compare research. And, this whole bravado of it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with my research, or it's what I'm saying, and stop distracting from what I'm saying and focus on what I'm saying, and not just, distracted off over here and stuff. But
part of the tone in which we need to share when educating people is this needs to be delicate sometimes, because we're aware either they're responding, but we throw it out. We do that. No, I'm not saying you're not. I'm talking to all of us.
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. I thought that was nice. And
you are nice.
Well, in like the replies in that video and stuff, because I had a long conversation with him and some other people, and I thought I was nice, but still, I could still have my opinion and articulate it and explain it and have that not be attacked because it's valid. And if you don't want to talk about that and still are just distracted with just saying, "Oh, I'm just jealous that nobody should listen to me." Then,
well, it's like Thomas Steenberg says: once they go after you personally, they've lost the argument because it's not about the topic. It's not about the information. It's not about the data. It's not
I didn't respond to the personal stuff. I just kept it professional on business, because once you start getting emotional of like calling names or whatever, the conversation isn't even worth having. In my point, at that point,
that's what I mean. But that's what he did to you, right? You're just jealous. That's
I'm just jealous.
It's like, and then he comes back with the upping in the game, which is if you want to go online toe to toe, man, you better make sure you know what the hell you're talking about. If you want to do the scientific method, going toe to toe, because you're going to be not probably standing as certain as you thought you were. And then what would I be called that I'm jealous of? What? If we don't learn what those scientific methods are, like everybody in chat or who views this video, look up baloney detection kit. It's a systematic way of keeping yourself sane and stop making sure you don't fool yourself about information and data. We're too receptive, too many mind games. And that's why we're doing what we're trying to do here.
I agree. And again, those skills are probably more useful in your everyday life.
Well, it makes you solid. That's what science is about. It makes you solid. If you don't have solid information when you're a child growing up, you are going to have a tough, older life. Because nothing's solid. Everything is anxious. I'm on all the time. I can never relax and know what I think and how to think, why I think that, and feel what I feel, and emotionally experience what I see. Not many people have that. Trust me, for what I do as a living. A lot of people think they do, but most people don't even know that feelings and emotions live in two different parts of the body. Oh, I always thought they were the same thing, like a coin. No, they're not. They live in two different parts of the body. Feelings live in your mind. Emotions live in your body. Why do we say that? Feelings always have a narrative attached to them. Emotions, you're too busy having the reaction. That's what an emotion is. It's an automatic, subconscious reaction to an event. You're not thinking about it. You're already experiencing it. Watch a toddler. They just are octane through the roof in the mall while you've just had a shitty day and you want to just get home, and this kid does not, because you're not giving it a candy. And the whole mall is hearing everything that this kid is volatilizing out of its mouth, So there's just, and there's no grace, gentleness, and patience with anybody online too, because our opinions or not understanding that people don't know. I don't know. I'm on here to learn. That's why it'd be good to be on the debate. I want to learn. I want to see what the academics, what do you need from us? Do you have cognitive dissonance? This is why us having this debate.
Yeah.
The chat people, do they have cognitive dissonance? Yes, they're going to have cognitive dissonances. So you've been influenced, they've been influenced by the culture concept and the jokery of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. That's subconscious. That's part of the system. It's one of those hidden forces of this organic style of culture we live in. You can't help but have an opinion about it. That's why a lot of times people, not to get too heavy in this, don't understand racism whatsoever. And that's why they say, well, I'm not racist. Yeah, but you're carrying a perception about things that you probably aren't even aware. But if I took you and did a class on it and set you up, you would go, I never thought of it that way. Two white guys walking down the street in the middle of the night. Two black guys are walking down the street in the middle of the night. You're walking down the street. You run into two white guys. You stay on the same sidewalk.
Oh, hey, I want to say something real quick, because there's some people saying that I wasn't very nice to Carl in the comments, and that is subjective of what nice is, and I thought I was relatively nice. It's just I don't believe them, and I said that, and in a nice way of like, this is why I don't believe you. Yeah, and I didn't call him any names. It's just a lot of people are friends with him, and really emotionally attached to his narrative and his channel, and like him and his wife and all that stuff, and they feel I'm attacking him and his wife and their evidence, and that I'm being mean. But I just try to be honest with people, straight up honest. And if it's something that's kind of hokey and we're having a discussion about it, then I agree it's borderline of being mean, not being, I was just being honest, and I have every right to say I don't believe his story.
And it's all fair.
And I know it's not politically correct to say that. You guys are kind of dancing around it, and which is cool. It's just with me, like I say, I'm at a point that I'm trying not to be mean. It's just I don't really have time for shenanigans that just end up. It's just part of the Bigfoot game of like, oh hey, I got all this great evidence that I'm going to keep from y'all and play these like control games, and then yeah. Anyways.
Well, critical thinking.
Answer that question.
Critical thinking can be perceived as being mean, and really you're just trying to get to a point, but then people are watching you try to get to this point. They're, oh, he's just being a bleepity bleep, So you're always going to have critics. Don't back off because you got a critic.
I agree.
Okay, just explain your point. Explain what you're trying to accomplish, and you're responsible for what you communicate. It's up to them to perceive it. Okay. And there's going to be so many of them. Don't even look back. Just keep pushing and be, I would definitely use tact and be gentle and delicate.
I usually do. I usually am pretty good about it. Usually pretty good, but there's just certain things where it's just like so insulting that it's like, wow, dude, that's just like, you're insulting all of our intelligence with that one.
Yeah. I mean, tact. Yes. I mean, gentle. Yeah. I don't understand that.
I could probably do better in that department. That's why I try not to get involved and do that type of stuff, because I'm not very good at it as far as like, hey, this person's pulling some shenanigans, don't trust and believe it. It's just, I don't know, because I'm so direct of like, just go straight to like, no, it's just bullshit. Don't waste your time. It's just.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't think it's fair even with that. And it got called out in that video. It got called out. Somebody said, this is just all BS. And it's like, okay, I mean, you're not making your case. Of course, it's chat. You can only say so much, So you don't just say, this is just all BS. I mean, formulate.
I went through, articulated of each point of like,
no, I know
inconsistency. Inconsistency of the story. Yeah.
I'm just saying there was somebody else in chat.
Oh yeah. Oh, I saw that. Yeah, they got kicked out. Yeah.
Yeah, they got kicked out, and okay, fair enough.
Well, I think that's what has happened so much is because if you've been online for a while and you just get frustrated because you've seen way too many times,
right?
So you got sucked in yourself so many times that when you see it, it's hard not to react. But it doesn't mean the person who's coming showing you the evidence. We're not talking about the video. We're just talking about general population. Online. We're coming in to do it. You don't go right to well, that's bullshit, because that's what I found on one of that critical thinking site. That was two reasons why I left it. It was every time somebody came that was new, didn't know anything. They're just innocent people asking it because they have critical thinking on a critical thinking site,
right?
And they get literally lambasted on that. But what comes across is the tone of the atmosphere of the people correcting the person who is misidentifying something or misunderstanding something that they saw online. And that's what bugs me the most, because that does more harm than anything. You have total right to ask. I mean, when I'm dealing with people, I have the total right to figure out what's going on, but I have to also use wisdom in how to get the information that I'm looking for. And then I have to learn a way to narrate it so that it's an educational narration. That's what makes it neutered in a way, so people don't emotionally react to it. And I get that quite a bit from comments about Leon tries to be fair all the time. Yeah, but not at the expense of the factual evidence. But I'm not reading from the factual evidence. I'm trying to also get the person to understand they have a blind spot, but they're not aware of that they're misperceiving something, because we can all misperceive things. And I would hope that if I was misperceiving things, release the hounds on me. This is a Sasquatch, release the hounds on me, because you actually care about helping me not fall into traps that you fell into. That's the motivation that most people wouldn't know about what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do, is stop people from falling into stuff. Because whatever you think and feel at how we're talking about Carl, we were once where he is. And we understand that vulnerability. And we also understand that some people get embarrassed when called out because they've done the sunken cost fallacy. Brent, I think you're familiar with. I've invested. I have a YouTube channel. I have people that follow me. I have people that watch me. I put my story or concepts out there. And that's why like I always mention, always tell the truth. It's not a Sasquatch. I was 100% wrong. I was fooled. This is why I was fooled. What I was thinking was this, and I think that's what set me up to become fooled. So that's education. And I'm now in a safe pocket because I'm not claiming I know anything. I'm also showing you that I'm vulnerable and I want to learn. Now, this is the olive branch. We're not just sending out that direction, but to everybody is if you don't be honest and sincere about your process, people are watching you, which means that it's part of your character they're seeing. And if your character is not truthful, honest, and open about what you're actually saying, and you're not presenting a narrative that explains why it is a Sasquatch, just a narrative that it is a Sasquatch, it's not doing you any good at all. At all. So you have to up your game because that's what we've been in for 15 years. And Carl has to do that, and so does every other blooded channel that's not doing that. Now, I'm going to get attacked for just saying that. Well, who's this Leon guy, and why the hell is he going to do it? Because I don't care about what's online. I care about educating people and finding the right people so we can move this bloody issue forward. So not people are, like I think Jason said with Daniela a couple of weeks ago, or no, with Tex, if we weren't doing the scientific method and trying to follow the scientific principle, we'd have a hell of a lot more subscribers. And he's right. Because people are out wasting, discharging energy in the process of trying to discover the information, do the research, do the readings, watching the videos that we're doing. That's why it's frustrating for us, is because we have to remember we're not those channels. So we can't have the same standard as those channels put on us and get frustrated because we're not those channels. That's not what we're here to do. But we were going to get bombarded, unfortunately, because most people are following those channels first before they hit our style of channel. It's nice that there's more channels out there for them to hit, though, instead of maybe 1 or 2. And that's just what we're trying to do, is get 12, 14, 16, 20, 50 of them. So that narration, that thinking process is shown to the viewer at home, so they see a different way instead of just the way they're stuck with whatever they have in their head of what their blueprint for thinking process happens to be. So there's my little lecture. Love. It's all about love.
Also, a lot of what we communicate is through body language. So how you sit in a chair, how you scrunch, how your position is, your posture. I try to make mine friendly, open, because I have nothing to hide and I'm not jaded by anything, So I really try to do that on a podcast like this. But you're going to get hit with people who are emotionally attached to things, and they're going to come at you, and you just can't let it. Be your own worst critic. Look at yourself. That's what I do. I'm my own worst critic. Someone can chew my butt all day long for something I did at work, but I already know what I screwed up. You don't have to tell me anything about what I just did. I kicked myself, and then I learned from my mistake, and I did, and I changed, my approach on something. So, yeah.
Yeah, good point. I agree.
Brent is out doing what he's doing. He's not perfect, but he's at least honest about trying to be sincere about what the hell he's doing. And he's
I try. I'm always constant, and I recognize I'm not perfect, and I'm always constantly trying to improve myself and improve my communication. It was a lot better it was this time last year. Yeah. So, whoa, it's only getting better from here.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Patrick.
Here's the thing, Brent, is that you're talking about how serious you are, and that we're talking about having or maybe struggling with communication with people. And I did not have, sometimes, I did not have a whimsical childhood. I just didn't. Okay, I wasn't taught about people. What I was taught about people are people's feelings are their own. If it's not yours, you don't touch it. Okay, you don't play with people's feelings. And so I never learned anything about it. And it kind of equates to, going back to when I was in, grade school, all these kids run around and got their cliques going on. And then there was 2 or 3 people up the hill all alone by themselves watching all the mess go on. because we didn't know how to interact and be successful at that. And so, I'm one of them. And it just took me a long time to figure out how to be more tactful. It took a long time, and
Well,
a lot of knocks,
Yeah, it's a fine line because you want to be tactful, but you also want to not really accept ridiculous stuff that's just ridiculous type of stuff.
Oh no, I mean, and you can say,
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, I have people send me pictures of a guy in camouflage pants with a dark hoodie and glue and ape hands on, saying this is a Sasquatch, and I'm like, well, how do you address that without hurting this person's feelings?
Well, for me, I have.
No, it's not.
Well, for me, I identify who it is, the situation, and I have different levels. It's weird. I have different. It's a different spectrum for me of totality of like, somebody who's just mistaken and just really enthusiastic and just promoting something that they're mistaken about, all the way to people who are really like even with what Carl, it's like I would put that more on the lower tier where it's just he's not asking for money or anything like that. And it's probably where that whole tax thing comes in. I shouldn't be
I always consider my audience. Always. What level are they operating at? Is this person up here? Are they here? And just that helped me a lot because I had zero people skills at 18 years old. It was all matter of fact. If you are, you are. If you ain't, get out of the way. That was me.
Okay.
I think the other side of it too is to help train yourself is watch professional debaters. We're not talking you PhD professors debate each other because they will always be in situations. And they'll teach you ways of responding without you reacting to it. So you might think the guy's full of bullshit, right? But you can't say that. And nor can you bring that, I feel this guy's a bullshit energy into your next statement, even if it's flowered in beautiful adorations towards the guy, because he's going to sense it. And that's the thing is learning when you're trying to, I can't remember who was talking about this the other day, but when you're doing investigations with people, it might've been Steve actually, Culls, that is, you have to learn a way of asking questions when you're trying to, you have to, when dealing with a witness, whether you agree with the witnesses or not, you have to learn the right way to get the information out of, and that's our responsibility to learn techniques to do it that way. So that when you are confronting it, it gives the viewer at home here, that people in chat, why there seems to be something afoot here. That's me saying that, get your pencil and pen out. That's me asking about 6 seconds. That's me asking about, did it keep watching you for that whole time as you left the area? So you made a description, visual imagery of a Sasquatch for Larry to draw, and you might have seen it for a second, is what you're suggesting. Maybe 2 seconds, we'll give him that. Maybe even 3 seconds. So what is the brain doing to produce in his head to help Larry with a narration to describe what's in his head he believes he saw? But there's things in that whole thing that I wish we had the capacity without people reacting to it. I think somebody mentioned about Justin's video. I think it was Christopher Noel saying, why is he wavering? Why doesn't he just say it's a hoax? Because it's a hoax. Well, he's wavering a little bit because he knows that some of the people who bought into it didn't do it with intention. In other words, who believe it's a hoax. They don't know it's a hoax. That's his target. So he's trying to keep them in the game without getting their ears shut, because remember, they're surrounded by, obviously, we call them the whisperers here, information that they're getting that's totally inappropriate, that they're now believing and now parroting to other people, maybe even their family members. This is, look, you guys, this is a Sasquatch. It's a Sasquatch because of blah, 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 blah. No one in the family ever really asks, yeah, but why is that a Sasquatch? No, you don't ask that question. You just believe what I'm saying to you is just ask questions because I believe it, and you can trust me. And I'm a good guy, and you like me. And every time you meet, your endorphins get shots in your brain there. So there's chemistry's all going on there. I love Leon, or I like him, and I trust him. Well, I don't care who it is, whether it's me or not. You have a right to vet the information to help me. And then what we find is, unfortunately, a lot of times when we're actually trying to assist people, even after they sent the stuff to us, like you're saying, Patrick, well, why are you sending it to me and asking me the question, what do you think? And then when I tell you what I think, you are offended instead of reflective of why I may be thinking that way. That doesn't ever seem to come into the picture for their capacity. So it means we have to help them, educate them, to explain it. Now, you don't do it all the time, like I said with this other person. I'll give him certain stuff, but I want to see if he's going to put any effort into it at all. So if he comes back with a message saying, well, I blah, 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 I don't think that's true still and that, there's no use having a conversation with this fella. It's like if I had a student that knows nothing that I know, doesn't have 10 years of education in his head. He doesn't know any of this stuff, and he keeps bucking me. If he doesn't adjust his capacity, there's no use me talking to him because he's not open to learning anything. And that doesn't mean I'm in a high, I'm a teacher, you'd better learn from me. It means I want to learn something. I want to learn something from my students, which they teach me a hell of a lot more than I could ever teach them, for sure. But I do teach them things that there's not a chance they'll ever know, but they'll take those things and they'll change even my life because it changes their life. And it makes me marvel about the capacity of the human condition and how it can negotiate dreadful tragedy. So when I see these champions take the ideas that I'm sharing with them, put it through their own experience, their own process, and own the data I've imparted to them, there's no better joy you could have. That's what I don't find that available online. I just hope people can open up themselves a bit more to see this is what we're trying to do. We're not here to be the problem. We're actually here to try to solve the problem. But you're going to react to it because we're going to touch things that you're going to be defensive about because you put allegiance towards ideas, concepts, or people, or channels. Now, again, that's the sunken cost idea. But I've told all these people, these guys are great. I did the same thing, and now I've changed my opinion about them because here, this reason, that reason, this reason, and that reason. Thought these videos were totally Sasquatch. I was wrong for this reason, that reason, this reason, and that reason. I'll give you a certain amount. You do the rest of it. I'll sniff you to where the trail is, but you got to use your own nose and get on the freaking ground and figure it out.
Right.
Educate yourself, because there's a lot of pleasure and reinforcements that come into you when you realize for yourself how you know what you know. It's not on this issue; it's on all issues. That's what critical thinking, scientific method's about. Making me solid about me. I know what I know, and I know why I know it. It's not an arrogant statement. I can explain to you. And you will explain things to me, and we will learn from each other. This is what life is supposed to be about. So this is what task is a great mountain ahead of us.
It is. It's funny you mentioned that. So next week, with the whole Bigfoot tree, how it's been debunked and everything. So I'm actually, with another podcast, I'm going up to that Bigfoot tree to go do an interview and talk with two people who currently believe that there's a Bigfoot that lives underneath there, and they actually believe it. It's not anything malicious of like, they know they're just exploiting it. They genuinely believe that there's something underneath there.
Nice, that's awesome. Yeah,
I just watched a debate with people who believe there's two suns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, with this though, I'm going to try. I don't want to embarrass them or anything. I would like to really have them explain their belief, how they came about it, and really kind of work it in and work them through the actual something that you would probably do, Leon. It'd be great if you were in my place and doing it all, because you'd probably get it done really well. But it's a great example of two people willing to talk about and consider alternative things like that I present to them and all that.
Yeah, but you need the practicum. That's the key part, right? Like, don't do it for the learner. I'm not doing a learner for what you get to do yourself, and you'll learn. Pat will learn doing this debate on Tuesday, and you'll learn from that and adjust. So you'll be up a notch higher than you were before, and another notch higher, and that's what I'm hoping for. It's not about just one of us or two of us. It's all of us learning to be able to up our game in regards to doing witnesses, doing interviews like this without embarrassing the person, but still getting their positioning so you can explain it.
Well, it's because it's one of those great examples of, we should really vet out, it's a great example of why we should vet out what's being presented to us, why we should really do the due diligence of vetting out what's being presented, because, these people believe this one thing and they believe it for this certain reason. Well, why do they believe it? They went into it because of this whole priming narrative that they came across, and they were told about it, and their experience with that and the confirmation bias that went along with it as far as the tree making those noises. And so it's going to be, I'm going to hopefully, it's going to hopefully work out. So it's a good learning experience for all of us, and they get something away from it as well.
Just make sure you use the recorder music again.
I put that on my alternate channel because I just knew that it was a parody. It was for fun, but it was still kind of what it is. It was the insanity behind that story. That music fit perfectly with it. It was such a misstep, such a blunder that it was like that was perfect music.
Yeah, it totally was. Well, the key question when you're there too is to, instead of saying, well, that's your cognitive dissonance. Not saying you would say this, but you stay away from that, like statements that seem to like be directed to them. So you could say to them, well, that's because you have a cognitive dissonance. Instead of doing that way, or with them to see if they even know what a cognitive dissonance is, and then later you can explain, well, what it is this, but you don't explain it regarding the topic. You just throw the definition out there and let the brain convince them. Wait a second, there's something here. Well, how? But you leave their brain ahead of them by asking it in, again, inquisitive, innocent questioning, so that their brains open, as long as you can keep that inquisitive questioning going, to follow your dots you're putting in front of them, or their little crumbs, and then they'll connect, and all of a sudden you'll see this look in their eye just go like, doing. Wait a second.
Yeah, exactly. And for the people who think I was a mean and kind of a dick to LA Swamp Ape with Carl there, they'll appreciate this, that wow, it's it's not going to be like that. Or because they're willing to have the conversation and willing to engage and consider, and not just deflect and say, well, we can can't really give any answers because it's classified type of stuff.
Well, we're not here for that. We're here for critical thinking.
Yeah,
we're here for someone to come on. Pat has a great platform. Someone to come on and lay everything out. Okay, this is why I think what I think.
Yeah,
and discern it out. This is not about whether Brent was an ass, because I don't think he was. I think he was critical.
He was definitely not an ass. No.
I think he was critically thinking, and someone perceived it in this way. But that's my opinion. But we're not here to do any harm to anybody. We're here to get the ball further down the field.
Yes.
By critically going through information that are presented, and if you present information as the best Bigfoot pictures out there, then it's going to be looked at, and you don't take it personal. Because we're not here for personal.
Are the best Sasquatches of 2020.
I knew that was coming. Yeah.
Like, come on, really? Honestly, I was talking to one of my buddies today, and he was saying, "Have you worked on?" Or Steve's been bugging me too. Have you got the third video done for the slow can? And we're sitting out next to the fire today, working on his acreage, and so my friend asked me the same question Steve said, and I said, "To tell you the truth, and this is the skeptic we had on site. I can't even do the bloody video. And the reason why I can't do the bloody video is how freaking pissed off is the better word, of somebody that's that person, that standard narrative priming standard we've all heard. The president of Bigfoot Field Research Organization would be that blatantly jumping the gun. To me, that just I absolutely walked into mindlessness. Now, that I'm not talking about Sasquatch is not real. I think I have walked into absolute blindness of madness, because if that's a perfect example of the system's highest standard that's been around since it started back in, Brent, do you remember what year it was? 2009, is that when they started BFRO?
I think it was 1999.
Yeah, it was way back.
Back in the 2000s now, the new century. But think about that. I mean, that's been the standard. Now that standard, if he's doing it today, he was doing it back then all those years. So the standard has never really been a high bar. It's never been a high bar. It's been people, and which would make sense at the beginning because no one knows anything, and then we don't know technology, we don't know cameras, we don't know filming, we don't know YouTube, we don't know editing, we don't know any of this stuff. And over the last 15 years, it's been advancing. But the problem now, that the old way of doing it, which they don't see, because again, looking at a system, you look at it objectively down here so you can see what the game is going on, that there's the critical thinking is actually moved past the critical thinking site. This includes Coalition for Critical Thinking. Stephen will be pissed off I probably just said that, but he thinks that they're at the front line of things. They're not in the front line. We all use them as a resource, but we have a whole bunch of other things we're doing outside of that environment that's both probably 5 years.
I don't know anybody's at the front line.
I think the Coalition of Critical Thinking is more of a repository where everything Bigfoot goes through eventually, and it's where you can have a honest critic like we're having right now. This here wouldn't be happening on other podcasts. Shut down and
this atmosphere. When I went on there with John, that this atmosphere wasn't present during that thing. And that's what I'm talking about. That's how I know that they've been affected by the system. Because the system has puked on them so much garbage. This is from their mindset. And what they forgot is that new generations are coming in that don't know any of the information. So it's like if you were teaching science over say 40 decades, new people are coming in that don't know the science, and you have to educate them about the stuff that they don't know. Now, every time somebody comes in as a new class, you can't get pissed off at them. They don't know the information, that they're asking the same questions you just heard for the last 30 years. Because it's not helpful for the people who don't, they're not, the people online, and I was one of them, didn't come online knowing any of this stuff. I came online trying to learn about stuff. Problem was the stuff that was been provided from, like, even from the organization president, is, if it's that cheesily pathetic in regards to actual research, it puts everything under question, which is just going to totally react to a guy like me after 5 years of already knowing that's out there. But then to have the president of BFRO be that shallowly pathetic, and then hear people say, well, he always likes to jump the gun. That is not an excuse. Well, I like to jump the gun too, and I just like to shoot people. That's not a good excuse, Leon. You can't shoot people because you like to jump the gun. Right?
Well, I'm sorry. It's easy to get cynical. It is. And I found myself recently getting cynical. That's a thing.
Well, there's a point here. I keep forgetting it, but I want you to, if you can remember it for the debate. They're going to come and be cynical towards you or critical towards you.
Yeah.
Your counteraction comment, you say back to them. You know what amazes me sometimes is how when I get on some of these debate channels or discussion groups, is people don't understand that the people in the Bigfoot community can smell out the rat faster than you guys can. And we will come after them faster than you guys can.
Yeah.
So this part of our frustration is we're trying to show you stuff, then do a list of scientists, names and what their fields are. That those people, if we show them the right data, they seem to come back to us and notify us there is something out there. But there's not many of them that we can do. So we keep trying to reach out to the scientific stuff, knowing that they've heard 90% of the garbage that we also agree is garbage with you. And that's not the stuff we're talking about. We're trying to show you.
I think a lot of these skeptics, or even like Erica, a primatologist who has nothing to do with the Bigfoot world, they don't understand that, because here's the thing we have to remember, guys, no matter what, is that if any of those people outside of the Bigfoot world, even my mom, let's say, this is my mother,
your mom that way.
like, when they open that curtain and they stick their head in, they immediately see, nope, I don't want to have anything to do with this. And of course, my whole argument is this: that this is online shit.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with a random hunter or hiker or Patrick Vaughn or whoever, you, Leon, walking through the woods and one just goes, boom, hey, what's up? And you're staring face to face with the 8 foot tall monkey man. Has nothing to do with the online community. Nothing. That's a personal, real experience. And guess what? There's tens of thousands of these experiences. There has to be. Regardless of the BFRO, it has to be. A lot of experiences, that's a real thing, and I separate that phenomena from the online community, and that's what they don't get. That you have to walk them to that.
Totally. But you could have, that's the thing is, but you have to learn, of course, and this is why you guys are doing practicums, and it is just practicums. You can't do, if you haven't done it. That's why it's so scary, and you're off. After the first one, you were thought, I don't know what I feel right now because you were in different waters, and it only makes sense that you would have that kind of residual debriefing energy inside your body, where you want to chat it out of you, and also hear outside perspectives to give you some kind of, because you're kind of dazed and confused when you're out of familiar waters. And but if you have people like Erica, and if whoever shows up there on Tuesday, if you can find out their names, that'd be helpful, Pat, as well. But so we can do some background check on them.
It's Erica and a guy named T Jump.
Okay, cool.
And he's an interesting guy. I don't know how he's going to play into the whole Bigfoot thing. It could go either way. He's actually, like, he's an atheist. So a lot of his debates are debating, fundamentalist, Christian fundamentalists.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I think I know him. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a dude, he's quick on his feet, man. He's sharp-minded guy. So if he comes at me with a capital S, that's going to be a challenge for me, But if he's more curious, that's always easier to deal with, obviously. Patrick.
Well, who's going to be your 1B?
Ernie. Ernie.
Okay.
Yeah. And so
just make sure.
Yeah.
Just make sure no one gets into it's a real physical being. Okay, you've got to keep it in theory and in phenomenon.
Yeah.
Because no one can prove physical being, and they got you beat hands
with
down.
Erica, though, she's always going to want to go down the road of it's a primate. It's an undiscovered primate, or that's what we're talking about.
Well, then that's when you go into theory.
Sure.
You can say, well, we have a theory that this is what this is. The fact is that phenomenon of Bigfoot is real.
I agree. And that's always how I try and approach it.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a safety net there, honestly, I figured out. But at the same time, it is a phenomenon. I think we can, all four of us, honestly say, for some freaking reason, people are seeing 8 foot tall monkey men in the woods. Why?
Well,
I want to know why.
And I think more go unreported too. More go unreported than reported.
Well,
by far.
For me,
I'm convinced it's hundreds of thousands of people, if not, let's say over the past 100 years, a few million, maybe.
Well, it dates back to cave paintings. Okay, and for me, it could be.
I don't want to dive into that ancient minutia. That's too much for me.
Yeah.
I'm modern times. North America, modern.
The other good thing was Erica you talked to. So you want to go over that debate again, and you want to listen to what her arguments are and find the answers to those questions. And then even if she doesn't bring up those questions of what she asked you, you bring them up and you give them Meldrum's answer. That's why I got Steve to ask Meldrum that question, because I couldn't be online with you guys.
Yeah.
That question about what do you suggest if if Patty is a female, how come she has the sagittal crest? Remember, because Erica was confused about that, and she was also
she was. You're right. I remember that. She said it was odd that she had a sagittal crest, which is not actually all that. To be determined. I don't know that she had a sagittal crest, but Erica seemed to interpret it as that. Yeah, and Meldrum answered that question. He had a home run.
Exactly. And the same way with Hysteria out in the savannas. That's another one she had. So you want to go through that debate of what she had and then go through the interview with Meldrum, because I was trying to get those questions in there so you would have it for the debate in case she does bring them up. And if she doesn't bring them up, you bring them up. Because if we have her as an ally, if you keep dispensing, because you meet with her once and stuff, you have to work on people for a while sometimes. So if you can, a lot of the people, when I talked about going online, watching PhDs from different academics debate each other, they've done it 20, 30 times over the last 20 years or 30 years. So they actually know their opponents, and the opponents know what they're going to argue, and they know back and forth, but they're very civil when they're doing it. And it's like, it is like a tennis match back and forth of me thinking and ideas. Because what you're trying to do is create an atmosphere of interest in the chat. That's the area where I
agree. That's why I do it.
Yeah, well, totally. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's why I do it, is to get outside of the Bigfoot world and show a different side of it, just like we were talking about.
Right.
When you peek your head through that curtain, you go, most people, And it's like when somebody like us, not just me, but us, any one of you guys, I would be comfortable throwing you out on a platform outside the Bigfoot world.
The Lions.
And I mean, Leon, you've done media, Brent, one day, maybe you'll do media. Maybe you'll talk to a radio station or something. Like, you'll bring it, dude. I know you will. Patrick Vaughn, he's just going to live in the swamp for the rest of his life. I'll go visit him, make sure he's okay.
Swamp TV, yeah. So I have to let you know, I have to get going here in like 5 minutes. So I don't know sure how long you guys going to keep going. We've been on for 2.5 hours already. So.
Oh yeah, we can start wrapping it up. I'm good with that.
Okay. Because I might want to talk about some things offline. That's the reason why I'm giving you a 5-minute warning.
Okay. Well, hey, if anybody has questions for me or the panel, put them in all caps. We'll try and answer them real quick. You better hurry up and start typing. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, this next debate. It's going to be the channel I've been trying to get on. So
I'm going to be heckling you in the
That's fine.
Are you lying, Pat? Are you lying, Pat? Are you telling me a lie?
It's funny. It's because one of your questions made it to the last. It was either the debate I was on or the sort of pre-interview I did. But like I just remember Kat saying, Patrick Vaughn says blah blah blah. We have so many. Like you made a comment and I knew you were there. I was like, oh, all right, one of my guys are here. Like, it made me feel like more relaxed and comfortable. So I was freaked the hell out, dude.
I was there too. I said the same thing. I asked the question, and Steve was there. And when you're on Tuesday, because I can't stay in front of the computer, but I can listen to it, keep your messenger on.
Okay.
So I can send you, if I'm hearing they're going down a way and you're trying to formulate an idea, I'll send you a quick ask this question here. Bing, and send it to you. Steve might be able to do that with you too. So that you kind of have an extra resource if you need it. You don't have to use us, but it's nice to know that we'll be following you that way too. So
yeah, we're totally in the Pat corner.
Yeah, they have no idea. We have choppers, man.
Yeah, sorry I missed the live show with that one there. So
yeah,
on Tuesday night, the last one you did. I'll try and catch this next one. Give you some love in the chat. Maybe tease you a little, just a little.
Yeah, it's a pretty quick chat though. It goes up like
it's
10,000 viewers.
Yeah, it's like Bigfoot Odyssey chat. It moves pretty fast.
Sure.
Yeah, if you pick a fight in chat and you catch it 5 pages down, the answer.
Yeah. You don't even know who's arguing about who with who because it just turned into a tossed salad on the chat for sure.
Yeah, it's literally the Matrix.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you. It's hard to. I really don't pay attention to chat because.
Oh, you couldn't on there.
Because I'm in a situation where I'm having to engage with another person and listen to every word and formulate what my next thought. Sort of like playing chess, you know. I'm in deep thought, and I really can't even pay attention to chat. Like people came at me and told me that, some people are being unkind in chat. And I was like, I never saw that, and I don't care. By the way, so people cracking jokes at my expense. They ain't nothing new.
Well, the frustration in the chat was because you didn't jump out there and say Bigfoot is a real animal and he does this and he does that, and then your adversaries weren't slaughtering you in front of them. That was their frustration, that you kept it as theory and as a phenomenon and argued it well, and that did irritate people.
Yeah, and I get that, and I even admitted that. I said, some of my guys might get onto me for not being more sort of adamant about things right now, and I kept trying to frame things in theory and speculation.
Well, you can only argue. You can only argue what you have, and that's theory and the phenomenon of all these reports and sightings and or how come that can happen. No one's reporting, hey, I saw a dancing bear in the woods. Okay, no one's reporting
that. Purple dragon.
Yeah, no one's reporting 26,700 sightings of a purple dragon.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not. They're reporting this thing, and all of them are describing it very much the same way.
Yeah,
and that is
8 foot
that
tall,
is a phenomenon.
4 foot wide shoulders, kind of ape/human faces.
Yeah.
Some people even say they look like almost like Alaskan or Native American.
Like people.
Fully. Why? Well, what the hell is that, guys?
Well, I mean, that's a
really close hominin cousin or brother.
Part of my thing was I was talking to someone. I said, if I saw an ape in my woods hunting, I'd say, hey, look, there's an ape in my woods. I would not be freaked out because I've watched about apes. I kind of know a little bit about their behavior. I know what they look like when they're displaying aggressive behavior. It's an ape. Okay, I didn't see a damn ape. All right, that's what bothered me.
Do they look like people, Patrick? I mean, do they look like wild men?
They got my nose. Okay. And a very robust face, much heavier jawbone, but not a protruding chin. It's just heavier. Everything is heavier, but it's not like it was an ape. It was not an ape. Okay, it had my nose, and that's part of the thing I've really had a hard time with, because I don't want to shoot anything that has my nose. That would disturb me really bad.
So I wonder where they do fall on our branch or evolutionary branch, and I'm guessing everybody here believes in evolution.
Please.
Well, my question that's never ever been addressed. I've asked it, and it's like swept under the rug.
Okay.
No one wants to deal with it.
Ask me the question. I'll pass it on. It
is with their humanistic traits in the face that I've seen. How much of that can be contributed to a purebred Bigfoot Sasquatch, or there are reports of women being taken and bred, or maybe having, an interbred type with human DNA in it.
Well, that's always happened.
So, I mean, am I looking at something that's an interbreed, a diluted genetic species, or am I looking at a purebred? Okay, and nobody's addressed that.
Like a lot of us have a certain percentage of Neanderthal in us, right? Mm-hmm. So we Homo sapiens used to breed with Neanderthal. That's a fact. It's a fact. So something along those lines, maybe. But something that we haven't found in the fossil record, like we have knowledge of Neanderthal, something along those lines, maybe. So breeding possible, although the size difference, like,
maybe they tried. I don't know how successful something like that would be, and I don't know.
I'm not saying that's happened. I'm saying that there's accounts of from ye old times, First Nations times, that women were taken. Well, then this thing has a human nose. So, you can't discount it, but you can't really say it's something that's happened. It's just a question in my head. How much is what I've looked at as a purebred, or is it something else? A mixture. So
again, the purebred thing, it's like that's not the right question.
Well, this question was posed because of this person reported these really primitive facial things in another state that they saw one. Okay, well, then I see one in my state, and it has very humanistic trait. And then you see, and it's to the point with the phenomenon in itself within the subject that they're saying, well, there's different types of them. Okay, I looked into why are people saying different types of it, because they're saying the facial structures are all different. Well, I know my face isn't like yours, and your face ain't like Brent, and I can understand that, but we're still all the same looking human. It's not like one of us looks like an ape.
We're the same species.
Yeah. It's not like Brent has an ape face. So if this has an ape face, this has almost an ape face, and then I got a humanistic face, that question came into my mind is, what is the pure breed or bred? What's a purebred and what's not? And is that even an issue or a thing? Could it be or could it not be? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Sometimes it's a combination of ape and man. Obviously, they walk on 2 feet, so they're bipedal. That makes them a lot like us in that way, even though they walk completely different than us. But still, they're bipedal. But they're so big, man. Like there's these huge things. It's hard for me to square that circle with the current fossil record, which is a fair question. But the fossil record is incomplete, so we don't know. We don't know. There have been things that have been found in the fossil record that are kind of Bigfoot-like, and I'm not even talking about Gigantopithecus, because it wasn't. It's thought now Gigantopithecus probably wasn't bipedal. It was a knuckle dragger, but Homo florensis and all these other things. I guess for them, it's like, yeah, these things exist in the fossil record to some degree, but how in the hell did they make it through all that to be actually walking around today?
Well, what I would like to see, it's kind of like, okay, we found 3 teeth in part of a jaw. How do you get that? I know there's some way they could probably do it, but I would like to have it explained to me. We're not going to answer all this here, I don't think. But
no, those explanations exist. I can sort of explain it. The jaw is important because it does give you sort of a framework towards a size of the head. The teeth are important because it gives you like an idea of how big, like it's exponential. So if the teeth are this big, I mean, they're not 5 feet tall, you know?
My thing is Revelation is kind of like, growing up, all dinosaurs were gray.
Right.
We don't know that.
Interpretation.
We don't know that. We don't know
that's
that.
Artist interpretation, yeah.
Okay, so how do you know if this thing had a completely hairy body or was completely bald? Okay.
Well, I think they were comparing it to modern day reptiles. Is how they came to that conclusion.
That is true. So a part of how they speculate or theorize what dinosaurs kind of look like, or their colors maybe, or what's going on with their skin, dermal patterns, is that they are able to compare it to modern day animals or other animals they have found that have been fossilized with better preservation. And so they are able to actually scientifically process that, at least into a theory. I mean,
exactly.
I don't. They probably weren't pink.
Exactly. Yeah. But see, my argument is that we found 2 leg bones, 3 ribs, and a skull, and we're telling you that it was completely bald human. Okay, or it had, they're basing everything off a theory.
Sometimes,
you know what I mean. Yeah. So how do and there's a lot of colorful reptiles out there with a lot of color to them. How we know dinosaurs were all gray.
Yeah.
They finally come out and said, well, dinosaurs might not have been all gray. Yeah. So if the whole comparison is this argument over here with all these theories and hypotheses and science, and sitting in judgment of the phenomenon and theories that you have.
Sure, fair enough. But I'm not a paleontologist, so
I'm just thinking.
Sorry, you guys. Larry keeps asking about what the debate is and where he could find it.
It's going to be. It's not officially on the books, but I think it's going to land on next Tuesday night, April 27th, 8 p.m. Eastern, on the Modern Day Debate channel.
I'll be there.
Okay, so it's not a definite then?
I haven't got absolute confirmation. I've just gotten like confirmation. So yeah, he hasn't posted it up on his channel as a thing that's happening. But I'm pretty confident that all parties are on board and it's going to happen. So he'll probably post it in the next day or two. Okay. And then I'll be able to like officially announce it, as this is happening, which I
got to go. So
all right.
Yeah. Yeah, right, we do. We all need to go.
All right.
It's been a long day.
Yeah, long week, brother. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week at some point. Well, hell, there might be a debate next week on another channel. And we'll break that down. You guys could tell me how horrible I did on it.
Terrible.
Okay, you're a piece of shit already. You're gonna just screw Come on, you'll do whatever you do. That's what you're gonna do, and we practice them. That's not right or wrong, good or bad. Just do what you can do.
But yeah, good discussion tonight. Thanks for coming on, guys. I appreciate it, man. It's I feel privileged to be able to pull from people I trust to come on my show and have intelligent discussion. And
I love you guys so much.
You're making me uncomfortable.
Come on, there's people in the chat, guys. Yeah, keep it up. People in the chat.
No, I really do. I appreciate you guys for being reliable and just being able to come on and talk about stuff. And yeah, with that, I'll just wrap it up, man. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks, chat. You guys were awesome tonight. Lots of participation. Kudos to chat. I always want to say that to chat. Chat is one of the most important parts of the show, in my opinion. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for being engaging. And we will just keep this going until nobody cares anymore. And then I don't know. I'll start streaming. I'll start streaming video games at that point. So, thanks, guys. See you later.
Video games of you.
Good night.